And now we present a pleasant diversion in which we forget the swiftly moving tempos of the present and go back to the past, recalling old scenes and songs and tranquil memories.
Okay. Show me.
What? We're up. Double play, jackass.
Flush, you bastard.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. How about that? I shocked him. We have our special guest here, James Eatock, and we're going to be talking about Final Fight memories. We're going to talk about all the games, the arcade, Super Nintendo, Amiga even, which I didn't even know existed until James had it in his little list that he had. But we're going to talk about all that stuff. But James, thanks for joining us to talk about this.
Thank you for having me on, gentlemen. Look how posh we're all being now. Prior to this, it was like, now it's like, oh, hello. Lovely to join you, fellows, for a discussion about Final Fight.
Originally, we were going to...
James's because Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Nathan. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, originally, the topic was just going to be beat 'em ups in general, but we kind of have to talk about the creme de la creme of beat 'em ups, the one that kind of, I think, skyrocketed that genre, honestly. Yeah. But go ahead, Tyler. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was going to say, because I know James would appreciate this, is that our original plan tonight was to talk about Seven Little Superheroes and watch it.
Oh, wow. Okay. The Ms. Lion saves the day
Appreciate
episode.
That. Yeah. Go back and watch it for fun. I'm like, I love this as a kid. I'm like, man, I'm not a fan of Miss Lion. Just like, I'm
not a big fan of the chameleon in that episode. When you go back
I still love that episode.
It's a lot of fun, but like you compare the chameleon in the Spider-Man, was it oh my goodness, the one where he tries to poison Aunt May, pretending to be Uncle Ben.
For Aunt May.
Arsenic for Aunt May. And the chameleon's great in that episode. And in this one, he's like in the Seven Little Superheroes, he's doing he's doing all his little rhymes and poems, and it's like, it's just.
But as a kid, I thought it was fucking brilliant because I loved
it's a lot
as
of
a
fun.
kid, and then to see Namor, I had no idea who Shauna the Jungle Queen was at that time. It wasn't for a long time. So I'm like, oh, it's Kazar's girl. But I was like, God, it was a real treat to see that many superheroes put together, in one episode. Just didn't happen a whole lot.
No, that was a good big coming together of the Marvel, some of the Marvel universe. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we're gonna have an even bigger time here tonight.
What's he giggling at?
I know. I'm just giggling because it's like, all right. Well, here we go, everyone. Here's Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, he's in the corner, isn't he? That's why. At least he's down there. Where am I pointing?
I mean, I can change it to that. There we go.
Chong Li is appropriate for tonight's ass kicking.
She does pop up in the background of Final Fight 2, eating a dish of some sorts.
Chong Li or Chun Li?
I was saying Chun Li. Sorry.
I said Chong Li. Like, when does Bolo Yang show up?
My friends and I always.
What version of Final Fight 2 showed up in the UK where Bolo Yang is eating a bowl of rice? I'm like, Chun Li does that. What did you get?
I love old Bolo because when we would talk about Enter the Dragon. Obviously, it's a classic movie.
Mm-hmm.
This ties into beat 'em ups, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a good precursor to the discussion. When Final Fight came out, my friends and I were obsessed with Jackie Chan movies, like all the classics, like Armor of God, Wheels on Meals, Dragons Forever, Project A, all these great movies, Police Story. The list is endless. And we were like big into martial arts. So prior to that, like your video games were, kind of Double Dragon-esque. There wasn't really that, Double Dragon was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't that kind of, with Double Dragon, it was always like you were punching and stuff, but it was great, but it never felt truly um, visceral. Whereas with Final Fight, you felt like, oh, these are actually connecting, and you do your little combos as well. You know, do, boom, boom, spin kick. You know, it was fantastic. But yeah, going back to Enter the Dragon, my friends and I loved that movie so much, and we used to just our thing was because who's the baddie in it? The big boss, not in the big boss.
Mr. Han,
the dragon, Mr. Han.
Mr. Han.
And he goes, Bolo, and Bolo just goes, Biah! So we used to just say, because it sounds like he says biatch. He's like Bolo, biatch. It was like a call and response thing. But yeah, Bolo was great in that movie, and yeah, like I say, we were so big into martial arts around that time in the like I'd say 1990, and it's funny as well. Like as we get into the Final Fight discussion, 1990 was when I was thinking about this when I was making notes. I was like, it was such a game changer of a year for me, and like in the UK, because January of 1990, Ninja Turtles, the cartoon, first begins. We didn't have, you know, even though in America it started in 87 or 88, I think. 87.
Yeah, 87, yeah.
We didn't get it until 1990. January of 1990 was the first time. And even though we didn't get the miniseries, we got Return of the Shredder was the first episode. So it's like, I feel like there's a story missing, but they went straight in with Return of the Shredder. So you have that. So you've got the Turtles craze. Final Fight comes. No, the Turtles arcade comes out, and then Final Fight comes out. So it's like 1990 was like the craziest year, and obviously like tail end of '89. You've got The Simpsons as well, so it's like a real kind of pop culture shift of, you know, Ninja Turtles, Simpsons, crazy video games that are like, oh, we can do this with video games now. It felt like a real turning point, like 1990, in terms of video games going from, like I say, no disrespect to Double Dragon because it's still a fun game, but it's compared to Final Fight, it's so slow. But I love that.
It's and I never could get the handle of playing. I play it better now as an adult and like on an arcade version than Final Fight. Final Fight was just like such an organic like beat 'em up. Like it was so easy to just jump right in. Just be able to pick up and act like, oh my god, I'm actually doing really good at this, and you know, just kicking the shit out of everybody. And
it's so funny to look back at, like I say, that year. It seems to be such a kind of pivotal moment for, I mean, arcade games throughout, I'd say 89 to about 95, just went through this ridiculously transformative stage because that was when, and it's a sad thing, that's when arcades went from being the thing you could only imagine playing constantly to then now your home system, your PlayStation. Not that everyone had a Neo Geo, but now it was like, oh, you can play arcades at home.
Yeah.
To the point where, you know, by the end of the 90s, arcades became almost like a gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd say probably the last of the great arcades were probably the like your Daytonas and your first-person shooters. Those were the ones that were sort of like, oh, they're still going because we can't quite do this at home yet. Mm-hmm. But now you kind of can, and it's just like, the days of it's the first time I remember going to the arcade and me and my dad playing Outrun, and I was just like, this. It was the stand-up unit as well, where you got the pedal and the thing. Just it wasn't the sit-in one; it was the stand-up one. My dad.
I see only a few units that were like that, where the pedal was you stood up. And
you stood up. The pedal
was the pedal. Yeah.
So that was one I saw most common. But my father and I once a year we would go. We were in London, and there's a place called Southend, which is on the coast. And Southend was famous because it was just like, it was a seaside town, it was almost like a mini Vegas. They had casinos and stuff, but you also had all these arcades, and you could just go into, you know, one place into the next, next door to next door to next door, and you just going seeing all these new arcades. So my dad and I would go once a year and just see all these new arcades because we were like big gamers dating back to like. The Atari 2600, you know, we like early 80s, we were getting computers and video games and stuff like that. But yeah, when we started going to arcades, it was just like, you know, I remember like Pole Position was a key one. It was like, this is amazing. Then Outrun came along. It's like, this is amazing. And then the beat 'em up started happening, and like Final Fight, and Street Fighter 2 were those ones where I was just like, I'll never forget the first time I saw Final Fight and the first time I saw Street Fighter 2. and Super Street Fighter 2, because that was a huge event. All my mates and I were like, we've got to go and play it up in town. We all got together on a weekend just to go and you couldn't play it because it was surrounded, but you're trying to peek over everyone's shoulder.
I miss those days where a new game and everyone is focused. For me, it was Mortal Kombat. Like when Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 and 4 came out, that's when, as a kid, you're seeing crowds like college kids, high school kids are all hovering around, and it's just like a big deal just to watch who's that character, stuff like that. But and you talking about it makes me think of just how abundant arcades were, because I'm sure they clearly were in the UK.
Yeah.
Here in the States, you couldn't go to a grocery store or retail store or even the beach, like the beach that me and Nathan would go to as kids. The hotels, the water parks, the amusement parks, everything had arcades. Every hotel on the Myrtle Beach Strip had an arcade on site, so you never even had to leave the fucking hotel
Pizza
to
Hut.
go to the arcade.
Pizza Hut. Yeah.
Wow,
Every Pizza Hut had arcade games, and that's where
unique.
Final Fight was played the most for me, was at Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut, wow. We never had arcades in like fast food joints, as it were, over here.
But only Pizza Hut, like McDonald's. Pizza Hut was like the only chain, not Taco Bell, not KFC. It was strictly Pizza Hut was the only chain that had an arcade game on site to play. They would have two. They have like a Neo Geo, Final Fight, and RoboCop.
Yeah.
Oh, RoboCop, yeah.
I remember Pizza Hut always had a Neo Geo machine.
Yeah, get to play Samurai Showdown and Fatal Fury.
Yeah, Fatal Fury was always in there, and then they had a baseball game that was.
Was that called? I think it was it Baseball Star or something?
Yes, something like that. But I always remember that was one that was in there. But Tyler mentioning that Pizza Hut was where he played Final Fight the most. I played Final Fight the most at a local Food Lion, a grocery store. That was the only arcade that they had. So they would swap them out maybe every 6 months. So I want to say after Final Fight, that's when we got Street Fighter 2 at that
I forgot because
location.
the Food Line that I went to in Radford had Captain America and the Avengers, which is how I discovered that game. And they had that game for a while too, but I don't think they kept arcade games that frequently at that Food Line. Like Hills Department Store, like they had Magic Sword, a couple of other side scroll games, but the Final Fight I always associate with Pizza Hut because I feel like I saw it more consistently. And I don't remember if like the arcade that me and Nathan went to at our local mall, it changed hands a couple times. I don't remember if Final Fight was even in Jolly Time Arcade back then. And that was an arcade that was packed out the ass with cabinets. Like it was just, with that and skee ball, like old school arcade. I
feel like at some point that one probably did, but I also at that time period wasn't going to the mall. Going to the mall at that time was like a big deal. That was like a once a month kind of trip. This wasn't an every weekend thing, but I feel like that would have been there for sure.
It probably was, and because I feel like I may not have come across the game until probably 1990. I'd probably at Pizza Hut. It was just like, oh my God, what is this? Because pizza parties would be I'm playing Final Fight, or we go and have dinner on a weeknight or a weekend, and Final Fight's there, and it was just an overwhelming sense of joy getting to play as Hagar, because that was my choice as a kid because he looked the biggest and the most muscular. So therefore, I'm like, I got to play as him every single time. And I always was under the impression that Damed, however you want to pronounce his name, because I never heard anyone say his name, was like the main boss because he's on the arcade cabinet artwork. He's at the beginning of the game.
On the teaser screen,
laughing like he just kind of makes you feel like he's the one calling the shots. So when you
you beat him first, you're like, what the hell?
You're like, I'm already like,
is that the game over? Yeah, it's like, no, you've got 4 more stages to go. But great. But I was just going to say about like, this is where I'm going to call upon breaking the peeling behind the curtain here for people watching. I sent Nathan loads of images beforehand that I kind of want to refer to as I'm talking about this stuff. But like the first time I remember hearing about Final Fight wasn't visiting the arcade. Tyler's vanished.
Oh no, he's good. I'm just getting him to take.
Yeah, I'm making some technical changes here.
Oh, I thought you were taking your pants off. Sorry. Okay.
I was gonna see if his audio would still dip out after he.
I thought he was
goes
going
out.
to go off and then come back, and he was dressed as Hagar with his fake moustache. Like,
that would be good, huh?
that'd actually be freaking awesome. There's your next time you do a Halloween or a cosplay, Tyler. That's what you're going to be. You're going to be
I think
Hagar.
Cody would be easier because I could wear just a white T-shirt and a pair of jeans.
No, you got to put the effort in. You got to wear like a kind
Hey.
of have a funny kind of 1980s hairdo, and then a big tash, and then that weird thing that he's got like
the
the suspender.
Yeah,
one suspender because he's badass. I don't need two suspenders.
just one or
I
two.
just get a pipe, walk around. That'd be fine.
Oh, that would be a blast. Yeah.
That'd be a great cosplay. So yeah, the first time I remember hearing about Final Fight was really odd. Like, like I said, my friends and I were big into like video games and computer games, and there was a magazine that did the rounds called Computer and Video Games, and it was. You can see why I bought this issue.
Oh man, I'd have been all about that too.
Because it was like, this is issue number 104, and it talks about, this was like the big Turtles issue, because like I say, this is July of 1990. 6 months earlier, Turtles has just entered the UK market, so it was huge. And this issue, everybody was like, oh my god.
Shit.
But in this issue, the funniest thing was there
Poster.
they gave it was a guide to Final Fight, but I hadn't seen it in arcades yet. So my friends and I all had the same memory of seeing this black and white illustrated guide to how to beat the bosses, but we hadn't seen the game. And the way they'd been drawn was, as the Japanese would call it, super deformed. So the artist did these Final Fights, which Nathan's got on like the next two images. And it was really funny because we saw these and we're like, oh, this game looks
cool.
great. It's like a beat 'em up, but they've all got like super deformed features. So we went to the arcade expecting to see this version of Final Fight, which sounds really weird because we'd never seen it yet. We hadn't been to the arcade to see it. And we're like, oh, this is cool. And it's really funny, like these illustrations, because obviously these people, the artist, is looking at, excuse me, the artist is looking at the screen, and you're not pausing an arcade. And I was reading an article a year or two ago. When you buy computer mags or video game mags, and they were talking about an arcade and they showed images. They would like take photos of the screen because they just had no way to process that unless they'd been promoted. So they would have to, take photos of the screen. It's just like, that seems so archaic compared to now. And yeah, this guide was like, here's how you fight Damned, here's how you fight Sodom, here's how you Eddie E, Abigail, Rolento. And although they call the boss at the end, instead of Belger, they call him Crossbow, which is really weird. That's like,
Oh yeah.
that was never his name.
I love this artwork. Like, I'd love to buy that on a shirt. Like these pint-sized versions of all the villains and the characters. Like, this
it's
is
really,
cool.
really nice. It's really nice artwork.
Because normally I don't like diminutive pint-sized versions of stuff. Because most times it's like, oh, little cutesy and shit. Like, it's castrating is what it is.
No, they still they
But
look
that's
they look
very cool.
badass. Yeah.
I like that. Like, I want like Damned, like coming out, like the one at the top there of Damned, like right before you get to Sodom, like that one right there.
Just sitting
like,
on the wall. Yeah.
Just sitting on the wall, like just wait, to ambush you. Like I just because I love that character so much.
No,
And
it's
Rolento, that is so cool to see Rolento. Like he still looks like a little, son of a bitch.
great.
God, yeah, that is so fucking cool.
But like I say, that was kind of our first being made aware, our first awareness of Final Fight. It was like this 2-page spread. And we're like, oh, there's a game called Final Fight. It's like this super deformed beat 'em up. So, and then you go into the arcades, and it was just like I said to you earlier. It's like the first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell? This is Final Fight, and it was just like these. And it's so hard to to tell a kid these days. It's like you don't understand how amazing Final Fight looked at the time. In like, it was 1990 when I first saw it, but the size of those sprites was just ridiculous. It was like, what is this? And I sent Nathan an image for comparison of like Double Dragon, and when you see the screens next to one another, it's just like, oh wow, they really were like day and night apart.
Yeah.
Double Dragon sprites was a much smaller screen as well. And if you look at Double Dragon sprites, they're kind of slightly deformed in a way. They've got the slightly bigger heads with the smaller bodies. Whereas Final Fight, they look like almost like superhero proportions, like John Buscema kind of proportions of like, 7 heads tall kind of thing. And those sprites and like the what do they call it? Like the teaser, the intro sequence.
Yeah, the opening like prologue to the story of the game.
Oh,
Yeah,
so good. It was just like, you walked past the arcade and was just like, oh, I've got what. Even after I'd played Final Fight loads of times, I'd still watch this intro.
me too. It was
mainly because you want to see
right there on the screen.
Yeah,
I got to see him. Like, I'm going to get him. At least I know I can beat him. You know.
Well, there was the different versions, weren't there, of this intro? Because there was the Japanese one, the American one, the European one. Because we had the shot of her. Most arcades over here in the UK had the shot when it cuts to the TV. It's Jessica in just the bra.
Oh yes, yes.
I've seen and he says, "What have you done to her?" And then it would cut to Dan saying, nothing yet, but we'd like to, or something. That shot of Cody and Guy. Have you ever seen the Mega CD version of that?
No.
So good. So they I think, if I remember rightly, they talk, but it's Cody and Guy in that shot, and Cody says, like, let's go get her, and it's such a genius bit of direction. He goes like this, and then his fist hits the thing, and it shattered, and it kind of glass breaks. It's cool. Like they're looking in a mirror. That makes sense because they're at the gym. There's a mirror there, and he's like. I was like, oh, that's so
just
good.
Looking at the date of births here, Guy would be 60 this year. So.
No, don't.
Wow. And Hagar was born in 43.
Yeah, so he's probably dead now.
Are you kidding? Like it's like the Chuck Norris jokes, death fears him.
Yeah, that's actually true.
There's no way in hell Hagar would still be. He'd be alive, kicking ass, right? He'd be fucking president. He'd go from mayor of Metro City. He'd be president of the United States.
You're probably right. Right. But yeah, I mean, when I see the arcade, you see this, like the logo and the whole, like I say, the sprites again. It blew my mind how amazing they looked. And my character of choice was always Cody. It was either Cody or Guy. I was never the biggest fan of Hagar.
See, that's how I was with the young guys, because my buddy who was a video game fanatic, he was always about Cody. Like, and I'm like, man, Hagar's the big muscle dude. Like, all right, fine, you pick Cody.
I think Hagar has the better move set.
It's more interesting, yeah, for sure.
But James, I was much like you. I would most of the time pick Cody. I was never a big Guy fan. I think that as a kid, I always playing the video games, I would relate to the character that had the blonde hair. So Street Fighter, I always picked Ken.
Same with me. Yeah, first time I ever played Street Fighter 2, Ken. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But like, what I love again about this game, it's without even looking at the screen, I still remember all the villains' names, and I love that they had like groups of them. So you had your Doug, your Brad, your Simons. Jake, then you had Elgato, Hollywood, then you had Bill Bull, G. Oriba,
Andors,
Wong Hu, and then the Andres or Andors with all their their versions, and the Axel and Slash, obviously, which is the classics. It was I just love, and obviously Roxy and Poison or Sid and Billy. So I love the fact that they had those kind of different, and each group. Oh, and 2P and J, of course, which is one of my favorite pieces of trivia that I never clocked until years later. Do you know the trivia about 2P and J?
All right, because I feel like there's some trivia I think I may have heard about.
It's a classic, because when you realize, you're like, oh my god, of course, their heads and their kind of color schemes are based on the two players for Forgotten Worlds, the other Capcom game.
Okay, I didn't know that one. No.
If you look, and obviously Jay, I think is just called Jay, but 2P is because he's the second player. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. 2P and Jay. I love that. But again, this arcade, oh my goodness, it just playing, when you confront Damned, and he's not just the villain that you have to just punch, because he summons more villains.
Yeah.
He jumps around, and when he jumps off the wall, 9 times out of 10, he's going to connect with you, with his foot and knock you down. It just felt like such a challenge to play this game. I dread to think how much money I put into this machine.
That's why it was such a big deal to, at least for me. I could get to the second level. If I'm lucky, maybe make it to Sodom, but I get my ass kicked because, I'm sorry, my mom and dad are not going to give me a shit ton of quarters when the dinner arrives. It just ain't going to happen. So, but it really felt like, at least for a moment, like I get to save the day and kicking ass, and this very imposing villain with these blonde dreads, like
It's
just
such a
looked like
great look as well. Yeah.
oh, and that's why I'm like, there has never been another video game villain or even a movie villain that looks as badass as he does. Like I just something about all the villains, and I feel like they that was pretty consistent through most of the games. Like someone could kind of be cookie cutter, but we'll get as we get deeper into it. They had a wonderful, very original roster of villains for the Final Fight games, like a great mythology.
Oh, absolutely. But that first one, what I love is you've got those bosses who are kind of timeless, but then, like I say, they're kind of underlings, all have different fighting styles, and they're like I say, I know all those names because I mean I played the game so much, but to me they were just as important as the bosses. Like I've got more of a fondness for like 2PJ, Andre, and
Hollywood.
the Hollywood. Then I've got more of an affection for them than I do for Belger, because Belger only shows up at the end in a wheelchair, and it's like, what are you going to do? And it's like he's fake and he can walk, and it's like, yes, I think they did such a wonderful thing. Well, here we go, world building. They did a great job of world building, because there's something we'll get into much later, which expands on it, because the story they tell, you're here, then you've got to get that again. It just, I make the comparison to Double Dragon because to me that was the pinnacle before this.
Mm-hmm.
And Double Dragon had like one of the best things about that was just this continual level. It went level 1, and then level 2 was this way, level 3 was down, and it was continuous like that. Whereas Final Fight dips in and out. Fade to black. Here we are in the next scene. But this tells us such a bigger story where you're basically going across Metro City, New York.
And just seeing like when the game opens, you see like the map of what you're going to be going through.
Yeah.
Jumping to the uptown, and the park and
Bay Area, stuff like that.
And I love that they kept that template for the following games.
With Final Fight 2, I think you did Europe, wasn't it? Yeah, you travelled across Europe because you had all the different villains.
Asia to France to the UK.
Yeah, the UK.
Yeah. It's just it was like it just really added a lot of scale.
Yeah.
To this story, which I'm thinking like, why hasn't there been a live action movie made of a very simple story, and yet it's been it has not been. I just think of the real shitty Street Fighter, the anime series, cartoon series, where they had the Final Fight episode, and it sucks balls.
Do you know what? I've never watched it, and I glimpsed at it today. I thought I really should kind of glimpse at it. And it's got like people like it's got what's his name from that voice actor? Oh my goodness, from New Adventures of He-Man. He was the voice of Flipshot and stuff like that. He's been on like loads of things.
I think he was the voice of Jedi Duck, and he plays the voice of Ken, and it's fucking irritating.
It's his. He was in because another one. They did the Double Dragon cartoon. Deep did that, didn't they?
Which I remember enjoying that kind of as a kid.
I remember watching it about 14, 15 years old and not being too offended by it. Because it was basically like a rip-off of He-Man. It was like, by the power of Double Dragon, or no, was it by the power of something? We are Double Dragon, and they used their swords to transform. Yeah, and I think Robbie London was involved in that, so that would say something about. Well, that may be why they did the transformation thing. But that Final Fight episode, I glimpsed at it, and I'm like, oh.
I'm glad that you guys mentioned that, because I too just discovered, that's an episode in the animated series. I'm like, maybe I should watch it, but I guess I'll probably just
I do. And I as a kid would watch the Street Fighter series, and it was on the USA Network, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't like mind blowing or anything, but it was like at that time when Street Fighter was real popular. Oh my God, they're in animated form and they're all teamed up and everything. But when I learned that there was a Final Fight episode, like, oh my God, I have to see it. And when I finally did, it was just. That seems to happen a lot with me. If I find out as a youngster that there's an episode, like I must see this, and it's years down the road. And it's like they had all the right elements. All the classic characters are.
The story is so. It starts off really good because they abduct Jessica. Jessica at like a restaurant.
Gets abducted, at a restaurant.
And you're like, here we go. And then the worst part is they have Ryu and Ken as undercover punks. Like
for the Bad Gear Gang,
which kind of would work if they didn't look like a pair of douchebags. They look like idiotic. They make like the rest of the Mad Gear look pretty normal.
Yeah.
Ken's got like his hair out like bloody Logan with face paint on. He looks shit, and maybe his nickname was Shit. But yeah, it was just so. The story just goes, and Cody's portrayal. He's like,
oh man, that was the most.
Cody. He's,
Yeah.
it's like
He's not exaggerating, Nathan. That's how he
No.
talks.
Yeah.
now I might watch it just to
There's
discover
one
how
bit-
bad it is.
There's one bit when he's like, I think Belger does something, he hurts Jessica, and it just does these close-ups to Cody. He's like, "You hurt Jessica," and he does like a flying kick, like it's really shit.
I'll
It's
have to
really
check it out. Right here, as everyone at home can see on the screen, this is usually where I would stop playing on the arcade game. I wouldn't have enough quarters to get past it.
Soden was like a bugger.
It's such a pain in the ass.
With his like fake charge, where he's like, "Oh, and you're like, oh, you bugger, Sodom, you were faking it."
I had no idea what the rest of this game looked like for years. Because even on Super Nintendo, it was one player, and I'm like, fuck, you know, like
of course, yeah. No, I'll tell you a story a short while from now. Can I go to some of my art, Nathan, just to break it up a little bit? We can have a look at some of my wonderful renditions of Final Fight in 1990. So this is. I think I did these in December of 1990. Bear in mind, I did these, I would say, very quickly. But it was one of those things where my dad and I would go to my nan's house every Thursday, and she had like an A4 pad that I would always draw in. And so I would like draw He-Man and Ghostbusters, whatever. But I drew these.
that's good, man. That's not bad at all.
It's cute. They're cute. They're silly. But I even dated them. Look, 12th of UK dates here.
Good that you dated those. Yeah.
Yeah, 7th of December 1990. But like we had the only memory I had of these characters was really what I was seeing on screen. So it was like, right, what does Cody look like? Okay, he's got jeans. I think I gave him Nikes, actually. He's got a little Nike stripe on the sides of him.
Well, they could have been white Nikes he was wearing, yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know, James. I'm not. Where are you seeing the Nike shit at?
are you thinking that's something else? Or?
I don't even know what it is.
Are we getting like a Rocky, my comic book again? Coming back to hold us?
I mean, maybe.
Oh, no. Whenever we do these, looking at my old artwork, we just discover more and more about it.
James really liked to draw penises when he was a child.
I bet you James like checking out books in his local library at school and just drawing pee-pees and wee-wees.
It's like super bad.
Yeah,
it is. Oh my god! Like the end credits for all the different penises. Yep, that was. Oh man, discovered my. Did it again. Yes.
Hagar's packing there.
That was my favourite pose for some reason. I wonder why. Just dong sitting. Look at the big porn tash I gave Hagar as well. It's pretty impressive.
I thought that was his mouth.
No, his mouth's underneath.
Like he was gritting his teeth.
Yeah, he's gritting his teeth, but then he's got this giant thing
all right,
over the top of it.
Now. Okay, I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean you're just seeing it? It's instantaneous.
I thought that mustache was his mouth, and like that was like a cleft chin.
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
Is this also supposed to be? Yeah. Is this also supposed to be Nikes, James?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, it's a swoosh, all right. It's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's a bit lazy. I'll give you that. Who else do we have? Yeah, Guy. He's doing a kick. Yeah, there you go. He's kicking off screen. He's kicking something.
I love selling the effect of the kick.
That's how you throw a kick as well. You go like this.
Yeah.
You jump in the air and like spread your arms. That's what they teach you in martial arts. I always liked Abigail. He was great. I gave him like a little ponytail. I can't remember if he has one in the game.
I don't think he does, but it works for the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought like I remember doing like drawing that ponytail whenever, because my friend and I, we were like we did these comic books and we'd include like all the video game characters. So these aren't my only drawings of these characters. I've got like books and books of this stuff somewhere. Well, I mean, I know really where they are. It's just getting them all out to kind of scan them would be a nightmare. But I drew characters like Doug and Brett and Jake from Final Fight in these books and stuff. I was just
Andre.
So obsessed. Yeah, Andre, yeah. Yeah, and what my favourite thing about that illustration of Andre is I clearly started off with the arms and then realised the head's not going to fit, so I'm going to have to twist the head. Which actually I think it's either the next drawing, which is this is the next drawing I think is a year or two later.
That's really good, yeah.
Yeah, that was the previous ones were like I was working on them, but this one was one where I was in. This is in my religious studies book, so that tells you, I'm not joking either. That was on the
He's
inside
kicking ass
page.
for the Lord, is what he's doing there.
Well, he's also punching Cody, and also one thing, if you look, his arm that's raised, that's kind of about to follow through. He's got hair on the inside of his arms, as does
It's some hairy forearms.
He's just got hairy forearms.
It almost looks like Fisto's right hand there. Like
it does. I
yeah.
mean, looking at that drawing, I know the way I draw. It's like I definitely 100% started off with the fist first, and then worked backwards from there. It's just my brain was like, I'm not going to read. I'm not going to learn what, even though I've still got the book to this day, how to draw comics the Marvel way. I always thought it was so archaic. It's like no one's ever going to learn anything from this book. This is how you draw. You start with the fist.
I had the VHS tape of How to Draw the Marvel Way with John.
Yeah, that's right.
I found it boring as shit though. Like, this is not as good as I thought it would be.
I went too far.
No, we can go back to talk about the video game, like the sprites. But yeah, that was my example of, when you compare Double Dragon, as awesome as that was and as colourful as that cast were, the comparison is just not even there. Like the screen was smaller, it felt more cinematic in Final Fight. And just the environment as well.
Well, yeah, the environment, like the city itself, like the slum, like the broken windows, the trash,
yeah,
the city.
The parallax scrolling with so as you're moving, the city background is moving at a different pace. It just created like such depth, and sometimes you'd even get the foreground elements as well.
Yeah,
so you get that 3 levels. It was.
I think one of the biggest showcases, and everyone at home kind of saw it when we were showing off the arcade, is I always really enjoyed that subway train level, and just how everything is moving all at once, and how it sounds, and just like the little rumbling effect too. It's you were talking at the beginning about how you would see this stuff in arcades, and obviously at home with the Atari and NES, you're not getting that level of graphics but just to see just in such a short amount of time how everything advanced graphically. That was kind of the beauty of that, because now when you look at graphics between a PS4 and PS5, it's not much different. So
no, we've got to the point where I don't play video games much at all. I don't think I even play video games anymore, but I still see the odd thing here and there, and it has got to a point where it's like, well, this is as far as we can do this, really. Now it comes about how we make the gaming experience. How do we make it unique, whether it be VR or this, that, and the other? But it is funny to say, we grew up in a time where it was like, right, here's how we start, here's how we're going to get, and in that space of 40 years, 45 years, something like that, we saw the very basics of home computing to where we are now. So it's amazing to see that, and yeah. So like I say, we were all big into Final Fight, and this was I hadn't up till today. I hadn't seen this article, so I tracked it down. This was in a magazine called Games X, and when this came out, my friends and I were so excited because I had an Amiga A500. It was home computers were bigger than consoles over in the UK. So your Mega Drive, your Genesis, or your NES or your Super NES. They were big, but the home computers were much bigger. So the Amiga 500 was massive over the UK, and it could do a lot. The Amiga was a powerful computer, but it wasn't a games machine. So when we saw, I saw this preview, I was just like, oh my God, it looks amazing. You see these sprites of Guy, you're like, that looks just like the arcade. Those are from the arcade. They weren't using Amiga sprites in that image. So I'm seeing this article, and I'm like, oh my God, the Amiga version is going to be amazing. And you can see the screenshots if you look around. The Amiga images, nice and big sprites, but you can tell there's because the color palette for the Amiga on most games was only 16 colors. That was as much as it could do. It could do more, but if you wanted to have a game that played and was, gaming and graphics wise, you'd have to reduce the palette to 16. So this is where I'm going to, Nathan, I'm going to send you a link because I want to, this link perfectly sums up the Amiga version of Final Fight.
Well, I mean, I have the YouTube video of the Amiga version.
Well, yes, but there's just one bit. There's just one bit where I was watching this clip and I was just like, yep, that's how I remember playing the Amiga version. It just, let's just say the playability became somewhat repetitive to the point of absurdity. I'm going to send you this video. When you click on it, it'll take you straight to the point. It'll make you laugh. I swear to God. It's about 20 seconds, and it's like, yeah, that's how it was playing the Amiga.
That's funny actually, because that's the exact same video I had queued up.
Oh, is it really?
To play from the beginning, but yeah, we'll go ahead and show off
Just
this clip. Yeah, it's probably all we really need to see of the Amiga version, right?
It really is.
Let's see.
You'll laugh. You'll be like, well, visually it's kind of there, but why are they running like that? Watch this. Just keep watching. So here we go. This guy's like, oh, he's about to fight Abigail, right? Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay. This is the bit. This is the bit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So look at their little legs as well. It's like fucking Hanna-Barbera characters. And then keep going. Yay, level complete. That was literally the Amiga experience of playing the game. It had like, look at their little legs. They look so funny. And also, if you notice, there's no combo. So guy just does a punch and then a kick. That was it. And then at the end of the game, this was the most shocking thing. When you complete the game, the programmer who programmed this game kind of snuck in a message about how hard this was to program, and also how he did a great job, and also he's single. And it was just like, what?
What?
I'm not joking. And it's like he basically made the end of the game about himself. And it was like, you fucking wanker. But yeah, you can still look at it. It's just, yeah, I don't want to see any more. It hurts.
Yeah, our Super Nintendo version, as hard as it was definitely superior to that.
Yeah, like the Super NES, like it didn't have Guy, but I remember that was the version that we were all like, "Oh my god!" Like, look at this is you've got, you don't have Guy, but look at the graphics. It was like when the Super NES got Street Fighter 2. It's just like, this looks just as good as the arcade. It didn't, but it was the best thing you could have at home.
Mm-hmm.
The Amiga version of Street Fighter 2 was so shit. It was so bad. All the voices sound like they've been processed through a bloody a microphone held to a little tape recorder. It was embarrassing.
I have to mention, because when me and Nathan would play Final Fight, like in I think it was like high school, and like when we got out of high school, I can't play anything without getting commentary from Nathan, no matter what game it is. We'd play Final Fight, and Nathan would like to mimic the sound effects of guys getting beat up or getting killed, and it was just like just.
Well, I mean, Hagar's when he spins around, his roar. That's like one of the greatest ones. Just,
or when you die, you just kind of.
Was it Cody when he would die? They'd just be like,
So it made, like, even if you were getting your ass kicked, Nathan was still making a great time. Like, with all the noises.
Final Fight had one of the best continue screens with the dynamite strapped to their chest.
Yeah, we have yet to talk about that. Like,
that
when I
was
first
so
saw,
good.
this is fucking Mom, another quarter. Like,
and just the anxiety inducing countdown, the wick gradually getting smaller.
It was such a great way to entice anyone, especially kids. Like, oh my god, like I have got to get another quarter here. He's going to die right in front of me here.
Did you ever see the one for? It was called Shadow Warriors in the UK. I think it was Ninja Gaiden, and it was the guy strapped to a table, like side profile, and it was a buzzsaw coming down. Like,
I never saw that one.
And he was just like, it's like, that's terrifying.
Down here in the bottom corner, we have, this is the Super Nintendo version, and it's the biggest drawback with the whole thing with the Super Nintendo version of this game is that it's only one player. That's the only thing that holds it back. Yeah.
And
always
we
hated
had no
that.
idea when we rented that too, because I think we rented Final Fight 2 first. And I don't know why, but I think when we got home and realized pretty quickly, like, oh, it's only one player. And me and my brother like to tag team on the games, and it was important. We picked something that we both could play together.
Yeah,
and that pretty much killed it for us both when we realized we can't. This game's hard enough as it is.
And the Super NES was missing the Relento stage, wasn't it? The industrial stage, I think, wasn't it?
I couldn't tell you because God, we couldn't get anywhere in the damn
game. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was that. It was like It doesn't have Guy, and it doesn't have the industrial stage because obviously it's such a huge game.
Yeah.
It really was. Like Final Fight. Like, again, for people that don't know, Final Fight was like massive. It was one of those. It had obviously the kind of this kind of additional stage with the Andarays kind of all kicking ass.
Yeah. So the other thing too is the original release just had Cody and Hagar, but then they came out with Final Fight Guy,
yeah.
which was a Blockbuster exclusive, I think.
Oh, was it really?
I think it was an exclusive somewhere. I might be wrong, but I remember getting Final Fight for Super Nintendo from Rose's at a clearance price, and I was like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have the arcade game to play, and much like you, Tyler. You and your brother would play. My dad occasionally would play these types of games, like Turtles 2 Arcade on Nintendo. He would play with me. So with this, I was fully expecting, Dad can play this game with me, and then it's only one player. I'm like, oh man! And not only that, but much like you, I didn't get this far on the Super Nintendo half the time. I would get stuck and just I would keep coming back to it, but I could never get too far in it just because it needed that second player.
And I wouldn't know what the rest of the game looked like till the days of YouTube when people would upload the game because no one I knew owned the game, so it's not like, hey, watch me play this and beat it. It was I had no idea what Belger looked like or any of the other advanced villains. I had no idea Rolento was in the game.
Oh wow!
I thought he was strictly a Final Fight 2 character.
Like 2 character, yeah.
So
like the funny thing is, listening to you guys talk about that so we played the arcade. I wouldn't say like loads and loads, like quite a bit. But there was one time my friend and I went to. There was this very close to where I lived, and kind of in between our houses. There was this bridge that went over this single train line, very very small bridge, but it had like a shop on the bridge, and it was like a proper old school shop of like groceries and stuff like that. But it had about 3 or 4 arcades in, and one was Final Fight. And one Saturday, my friend and I went in there, and we were like, we'd saved up like loads of change, and we're like, right, let's play Final Fight. And we started playing it, and we kept going, and we'd start to die, and then there was a crowd gathered around us. It was like something out of like a 1980s video game film, and people started going, go, keep going, keep going. So other kids were like helping us. We got right to the end of the game with Belger. So we're playing this we've gone through like loads of money. We're getting to the end, like, oh my god. And he's firing his crossbow, and we're like, oh, and nobody's ever seen the ending. We're getting to the ending, and both our characters are dead, and everyone's like, where's money? Everyone had run out of money. And it was just like, no. So we died fighting Belger. So we didn't see the end of the game until
that's epic though.
Again,
like you had like a last Starfighter moment where people are
it was like
on,
Yeah, and then afterwards we were selected to enter a fighting tournament based on our experience of playing a video game. It's like,
this guy gets up and says, those kids got talent,
Exactly, yeah. We're going to put them in an arena with a giant man dressed like a ninja. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm ready. Come on, you big bully.
James is wearing a one suspender outfit there. He's already got
his exactly, yeah. Oh, that would have been.
I used to fantasize, like, hoping that I have those moments where people gather around and watch me play. I only had like a few.
Watch Tyler play terribly at an arcade game.
Well, I mean, there would be times where people would watch me, like I remember playing Mortal Kombat 2, and some older guys were just watching me play, and they were like, damn man, he's doing good. I'm like, that's right. I'm like in second grade.
And then they slap a quarter down. They're like, I got you next, and they kick your ass.
Didn't happen, but that would happen. Some cocksucker high school kid would just come over, not even say, hey, how you doing, or you mind if I play? Just wouldn't even look at me, the asshole, and throw it in there, fucking kill me.
Wow.
It just.
I thought with Tyler's story was going to be a bit more tragic when he said, like, oh, some old men would come up and start watching me play the video game. And hey kid, we've got in the back of our van, we've got lollies.
I got experience like an advanced joystick you can play with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like rubbery, and you can when you press the fire button loads of times.
I'm telling you, you'll really get an advantage using this.
You'll cool off with a squirt in the face. Just like that on South Park, or that like the shake weight, good.
Man, I hope no one out there decides to gift this episode, because that would.
Well,
Oh,
if they
dear.
did, then, I feel like we've made it. If they're going to gift, us pretending to do
just
shake
just
weights.
give them this.
Yeah. Shake the cheeks there.
You guys have fun. I will sit here.
Nancy can add in like the spit noise.
So after Tyler was abducted, he came back to us. But yeah,
and that's when Final Fight 2 came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's one more thing about the Amiga version, or I should say the European distributed version by this company, infamous company called US Gold, and they did anything but gold. They were infamous because they would do the home computer ports, but they would do such shit jobs. Their version of Strider was infamous because they literally cut the game in half and said, "That's the game," and it's like, we're missing a bunch of levels, and it's like,
But
US
you meant
Gold.
the He-Man horse. I thought, what did
No,
they do to the
sorry.
He-Man horse?
No, Strider, paw with the,
Oh.
yeah. That was that Cap? Yeah, that was Capcom. Of course it was. But their cover, which I think is the next image, Nathan, maybe, it's like a box art of. It's supposed to be Cody and Mad Gear like towards him, and it just looks pants. This was the cover of Final Fight, and it was just like, the next one after this. That was the Amiga version. There you go. Look at this.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like there's an appreciation for that kind of art, but back in 1990, we all wanted the Japanese artwork. It's simple as that, and instead we got this with like, hey, look, we're punks. We've got big arms, and I'm
That
supposed
ain't
to be. I know it's supposed to be someone, but it was all their cover. All US Gold's covers always looked like wank. It was just always this same kind of. They did one for. Was it Ghosts and Goblins? And it was just terrible. It's just like, what is this shit?
I have to ask the origin of the word pants. Like what? Like it? Like obviously it means. It
Oh,
sucks,
sorry.
but
Because obviously we call underpants, whereas Americans tend to call pants as in my jeans or whatever, or my trousers, my pants. So we say underpants, the abbreviation pants, and then saying something's pants, it means it's crap, it's rubbish, It's
like skid marks and panties kind of thing.
yeah,
Pants.
that kind of thing. The old that old chestnut.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
All these pants that got skid marks all over them. Oh.
Those assholes taped over the game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. But I suppose whilst we started branching into the subject of Final Fight 2.
Well,
Yeah.
what
I
is
remember
the,
when I played that too. Like
what
I
is
got,
this next
details of
image
that.
though? Image 14 that you sent me. What is this? Do you want to talk about
So
that for us?
this, so you're looking at
Yeah.
it, are you?
Yeah.
I only found that today when I was looking for the box art. It's obviously a foreign cover.
Whoa.
It's so bad. Like look
Ugh.
at look at Hey Guys. I don't know who they got to draw that, but I don't think. Yeah, it's obviously a rip-off of the previous cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like they've somehow made it like even worse.
That's lower than pants, dude. That's
The socks, that is.
yeah.
That's terrible. But
And a fidelity card, like was it like a credit card for?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess that means like the Commodore 64 and the Amiga version. If you have the Fidelity card,
you're right.
you get a little bit
A
cheaper.
discount?
Yeah, looks
I
like-
just noticed US Gold's logos at the bottom there. So obviously
Yeah.
that is someone like they commissioned to do that artwork, or someone did.
and the offer is valid until Halloween 1991. So there you go.
Oof, bring it on. So yeah, like we're getting into Final Fight 2. The funny thing is about Final Fight 2, I would say, I never played it properly. I maybe played it once or twice, but I always appreciated it. I got all the images of the villains together and created like a little composite image, because for me, the villains from Final Fight 2, the bosses, as in the main bosses, are probably, I think they're just as strong as like the first ones.
Oh, easily.
Because I think they're more, like I like Abigail, I really like Abigail and Rolento, but you look at the bosses, and obviously Rolento's in Final Fight 2, but the bosses for Final Fight 2, they're like beasts. I don't know why. There's something really kind of yeah, crazy about them. When I was looking at the image of just like, I remember the first time I saw Final Fight 2 in a video game mag, and they just showed all those Japanese boss illustrations, and I was just like, that looks so cool. This game looks great. And obviously you had the characters you could play as Hagar, Carlos, and
and
Maki.
yeah.
Yeah.
That intro that Nathan's playing there, like watching that on Super Nintendo for the first time, because that was my first image of like what the end of Final Fight looked like.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So that was like, oh my god! So that's how it ended, and the music that's playing was very serious, and the fire starts to come up over the photograph. Like it was like watching a movie as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, this fucking rocks.
I like the way this one starts off with a phone call as well. It's
Yep.
like every time his phone rings, it's like another final fight.
So when it came to Final Fight 2, occasionally I would get video game magazines, but aside from that, I had no knowledge of what games were new, what was coming out. So there was a Friday night that I went into Frank's Video and was perusing the Super Nintendo section, and there it was. I'm like, they made another one? Holy, I gotta rent this, and it's number one, 2 players, so you already got that, and exponent. I'm like, I love this already, but also it seemed like the game itself, and that's probably just because the advancement in years and just how they managed over time to squeeze so much on such a small cart, but it seemed like it played a lot better too. It moved a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like like I said, I played it maybe once or twice, but my main experience has been kind of watching long plays over the years on YouTube, and it always, to me, strikes me as a much, at least in terms of the Super Nintendo, like a much smoother game.
Yeah,
and it just feels there's something, again, I use that visceral word. It just feels like it's connecting more, much like the original Final Fight Arcade, when those punches connected. Like with this one, it really does feel in Final Fight 2 that those punches are really kind of connecting with your opponents and stuff.
yeah.
And like I say, and it's so funny when you look at it.
Yeah, there
she is. Yeah. Look, Bolo biatch. She. What I love about it as well is it's you've got a new cast of, obviously Andrea and Relento pop up in this, but you've got this. You've still got the same kind of groups of villains. You've kind of got a. You don't have Bill Bull anymore, G. Oriba and Wong. Who you've got.
I forgot what
Elic.
fat dudes with the Elic. Yes.
Elic, and then you've got you have, like, instead of Slash and Axel, you've got, I think it's Atlas and Joe or something. It's like these big dudes that block all the attacks. That was always the bit. Yeah. And then you've got like you got the punks like 2P and J, and then you've it's again you've got those. It's just the way they kind of have the groups of characters that fight a similar way. But like I say, there's something about this version with the bosses. I just think they're so, there's something. I think it's because it's more, we talked about it. They go around the world in this one, so I think that adds to it slightly. I don't know, like when Hagar gets on a plane, if he's still dressed in just his like.
He is. It's like
it's Hagar,
there's no luggage. He's just sitting there,
just sitting there.
Yeah.
I love his pile driver in this game, the spinning pile driver.
The spinning one, yeah.
Yeah. With this game, aside from renting it, I didn't own the cartridge of this until way later. And then Tyler and I I'm sure Tyler, you remember this, when Tyler would come over and we would play Wii bowling and golf. I had the virtual console on there, and I bought Final Fight 2 and 3. And Tyler came over one afternoon, and we played both games and beat them together.
Yeah, it was a blast to do that, because I had such a high love for this game, because it was Christmas of '93. We got Super Nintendo, and like the next day we got to go out and rent games.
Yeah.
And it was like, to be able to walk and look, and the video started looking at the Super, and we had no idea there was a Final Fight 2. So we rented that, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and King of the Monsters.
Nice choices.
And it was just like we spent all, and it was an epic day. Like it was, mom had to go get the car worked on before we went to the video store. So it was like being in prison waiting to go to the video store down the street. But when we got home and I played as Hagar and we beat the game, I think that weekend, me and my brother did. Of course, we get to the boss, I die, and my brother gets the final blow. I'm like, no, I wanted to knock him out the wall. But
Let me
we
ask
went back and play it again a lot, and we just had the best. And then we would do this because I told Nathan, and I think I told him that we would do this a lot. In Final Fight 2, there's friendly fire. You can actually punch your partner, and I hated that. And if I punched my brother, he would punch you back. Well, we got to be even. So if he punched me, I go and slug him. So it's more about trying to we're not doing it deliberately, but we're just hurting ourselves by punching each other.
Yes.
But if we did it every time we played the game, it never failed. Like, I got to get you back. No, you hit me, and it was never intentional.
Let me ask both of you this. Anytime I would play these games, for the amount of time I would play them too, obviously, would your thumbs get super sore?
Yep.
Did you ever get blisters on your thumbs or anything, James, playing these games?
With regards to, bear in mind that when I was playing Final Fight, it was usually a joystick kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was rare that I play on a pad. But obviously, I think Street Fighter was the one that killed my fingers the most because that really was, you had 6 buttons and that really kind of killed you after a while. But
playing the beat 'em ups definitely, because Turtles in Time and Final Fight 2 were played a shit ton. So raw thumbs, just like mashing the arrow and kick, pump, it happened a lot. And my favorite, and I still tell Nathan, I've referenced this a lot, is Philippe the Clown.
Oh, Philippe the Clown's great.
Oh my God, the best, because a kung fu fighting clown who looks like he's a ringmaster of a circus, that's a visual I want to see in live action.
Yeah.
I thought that blew my mind when I saw him as a kid. Like, holy shit! Like, it's a kung fu fighting clown with a cane and beats on your head with his cane. And
well, again, it's just a different aesthetic, isn't it? In terms of his look, he just looks. Yeah. He kind of. I can't remember if there's still Mad Gear in this or if it's not Mad Gear.
It's Mad Gear. Yeah,
it's Mad Gear again. Okay. Yeah. And it's like he just, compared to the other kind of members of Mad Gear we've seen, Philippe is just like, oh shit, that's new, that's different.
Yeah.
And the fact that is it Freddy is the villain from Level 2? He's like. He's got camo fatigue.
And the bandana on his head.
Yeah, and in the background of his stage, you've got Guile. That's what they say it is. You've got all these kind of military personnel. One's got the kind of Guile haircut. It's like, okay, maybe that could be a thing. But I like the fact that there's this variation, and I think the fact they go all around the world. Who's the what's his name? Bracken, the big Frankenstein-looking guy.
Oh yeah.
That's a great
because he comes bursting. I think it's in Germany.
You see, I think, Netherlands, and he's behind
he's
behind a door
against the bars there.
Just he comes out,
comes bursting out. Yeah,
he looks so good. But I do wonder, thinking about it, I never really gave this much thought. I wonder if they made Rolento a villain in this because he'd been absent from the previous Super Nintendo version.
Probably was, because and that makes sense why he was in that one. Juan, got it. That brings back memories of fighting him. That was something. Most of the villains in Final Fight 2, they're all like the same size, like these
they're all big dudes,
monstrous dudes. But they all look different, but they're all the same size. Just other than Philippe.
Philippe is the exception to the rule. He's still a tall bugger though,
Yeah, and fast because he'd slide on the ground and sweep you and
his
just,
little cane.
But I still say Rolento was probably the one that pissed me off the most because the fucking grenades he just threw all over.
Yeah, the grenade. Oh, that honestly, when you and I played that, I think that's the one we had the hardest time. It pissed me off pretty good.
He's so Rolento compared to Final Fight in Final Fight 2. He's so fast though. It's ridiculous. He's like grenades.
You think about how the fuck would anyone beat the actual arcade cabinet version of that, knowing how fucking hard that one character was, if you were lucky enough to get that far.
Yeah, no, Rolento was ridiculous. It was even in the Final Fight arcade. I love 1-1. It's just it's a great looking design. Yeah, Nathan, show the what was it, the image? I think it's 15 maybe, which is the image of all the bosses, because as we've been talking about them. Because I just love their look. I created this. I got all the images of the bosses together, and I kind of did a little composition. Tried to create there you go.
Oh yes, Yeah,
You know?
I've seen those images before, but to have them all together like that looks phenomenal.
This looks like something that should, I don't know, James, be on a T-shirt.
Yeah, but like those
If you
designs
upload
are so
tonight, I'll
cool.
buy it right now.
So
Look at
I-
Philippe the Clown there, dude. That
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
rocks, dude.
It just looks so badass.
And Rolento just looks. These guys look like people you do not want to fuck with. Like this has got, action figures
It's-
written all over it.
It's quite funny that because, like, I'd say they're less when you look at a final fight, you look at Damned, Soda, maybe the exception, Eddie, Abigail. They're all kind of like street thugs. These guys are almost like super villains. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
Because
yes, very much so.
there's a different aesthetic to them. Like Freddy and Rolento may be a bit of an exception, but even Freddy looks like a super villain, like Bluto, like Brutus, from Popeye. But Felipe and like I say, Bracken is I just love that look.
It's something I've never understood because, and I'm glad there's been crossover. And I had no idea until Nathan told me that Hagar was in Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Yeah, that was because that was
I
when they
had
did
no
the
clue
whole.
about that. I never got to play it because I didn't know
Really?
it was a Capcom game. I remember
Oh
seeing it,
wow!
but if I had known that, you couldn't have pulled me away from it. So I hate that I never got to play that game. But I love that there's a crossover that they pulled characters from this game into the Street Fighter series. And I'm like, why is the Final Fight cast kind of been like Street Fighter has been merchandised with good reason, but like, you look at why has there not been more merchandise, T-shirts and posters of these very colorful characters that just seem to be ignored?
I think, with Final Fight, like as we were talking about with the action figures, I think we did that before we started, but
Yeah,
I think Final Fight is slowly finding its way into merchandise now. But I think when you think about it, Final Fight 2 was licensed by Nintendo. So 2 and 3 may fall under a different rights thing, whereas Capcom have complete ownership over Final Fight. They may not own the rights to certain characters in Final Fight 2. So it may be that, you'd think that all the rights would reverse back to them, or go back to them. But yeah, it's hard to know. But it's a great cast of characters. Although I think that said, I think Maki shows up in a game, and the girl, I forget her name from the third one. She shows up in. Yeah, I think she shows up in Street Fighter 5, maybe.
okay.
Yeah, because she's a police officer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's because it's I don't know, maybe it's one of those things.
And I'm pretty sure Cody is in Street Fighter games.
He isn't
now,
one
too.
of, and he's wearing like a prison guard because
he starts.
prison,
Well, I was going to get into that because obviously they will start popping up in the alpha games, which was fantastic when we were young. My friends and I were like, "Oh my god, there they come!" But yeah, like Final Fight. So Final Fight 2, like I said, I didn't play much of just because I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I'd only play it when my friend would have it, or But the when we get to Final Fight 3, I've heard, I've never played Final Fight 3. I've always heard it was a much better game than 2.
I feel like 3 got a bad rap. Like I never heard a lot of good. And I liked Final Fight 3 because I got to play it on Super Nintendo quite a bit too.
My friends and I all laughed about Final Fight 3 when we saw the promotional images and that's when you come to Image 16, Nathan. Eventually, there's no great rush, but Image 16. We just couldn't stop laughing when we saw what they'd done to Hagar for Final Fight 3.
Oh, the ponytail
and the bloody Lycra cycling shorts. We were like, what is that?
Yeah.
It just, to us, that we couldn't stop laughing. It's like, he's supposed to be like a 40, 50-year-old man, like a wrestler. And don't get me wrong, he looks like a wrestler there to a degree, but the ponytail is just like, it screams kind of 90s in a way. And it was the 90s.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where you look at his design in, Final Fight and even Final Fight 2, and it works. This one, it's like, oh, I don't know.
This is midlife crisis.
Yes, there you go. That is the perfect. Oh, I love that. It's midlife crisis Hagar.
He's gone through a lot, all right. Like,
in fairness,
if he wants to wear short shorts, James, he is
who's gonna
more
tell
than
him
earned it.
Like, yeah.
I'd love to look at his appearances in because he was in two. Obviously, they made two games, Saturday Night Slam Masters, and obviously he wears more wrestling-esque attire. He doesn't have a ponytail, from what I recall, but I do wonder if that's why they went with this look, because they were like, well, we're doing Saturday Night Slam Masters, let's make him look like a wrestler, within reason. That's many wrestlers
and
in
I was
cycling
indifferent to that
shoes.
look. Like I was just glad to know he was there, but I was actually more thrilled that Guy was in the game. Because I was like, oh my god, like, he can play his Guy again, and I tended to play more of him in Final Fight 3 when that came out. That and Dean, because we always would have to sample everybody and see how good they are. But getting to play as Guy and Dean, I think, were my go-tos when Final Fight 3 came out.
And this was obviously the when they started popping up in Alpha, or Zero, wherever it was. It was called Alpha in our country. I don't know if it was called Street Fighter Zero, where you guys were. If that was the Japan title, was it Alpha? With
It was Alpha for us.
yeah, we loved these games because my friend had it on his PlayStation. Yeah, his PlayStation 2, I think it was at the time. And every Friday night we'd go around his house. We'd all play like the Alpha games as each one came out. Like the first one, I think Guy and Soden were in it. I remember just being so excited. I was like, oh my god, they're bringing Final Fight into Street Fighter now. It was just so, and I love the aesthetic and the combos and the kind of the playability of the Alpha games. They were my favorite Street Fighter games. There was something, they weren't as kind of meaty as the first Street Fighter 2, but there was something, they were a lot more accessible, I found, with the Alpha games. And I think it's Guy's stage when you play as, or when you're playing against Guy or whatever, and the background's just full of Final Fight characters. You got, I think Hagar's got someone in a headlock, and you see Jessica, and I forget who other characters are there, but it's a proper. I think Andre is there when he's going through this whole. He's becoming Hugo at the time.
Isn't he in one of the Street Fighter games too?
He's in Street Fighter 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, is this Final Fight 3 we're looking at?
Yeah, Final Fight 3 is what we got.
I remember like when Sodom would show up, and I was like, "What? That looks like the guy from Final Fight." And it just didn't occur to me because I didn't know what his name was. I just it looks like the villain, and like, sure, holy hell, that is him. Yeah, the Mad Gear Gang aren't the villains in this one. It's the Skull Cross Gang, I think is what they're called.
Skull Cross. Look at that. The coolest thing about this is that both of you know so much about the names and shit. I never really paid attention to the names at the top. I'm like, let's just kick some ass.
It was like playing out a movie. Like, I'm participating in a movie, and that's why it was so important to watch the prologue for these games in particular. Was a big deal. And see right there, Hagar doesn't look too bad with the ponytail. It's not too bad. And I was indifferent to that look. Like, it was more Final Fight getting to play. It's like I didn't care.
I was the same way.
I was going to do laugh at this intro because what's the name of the guy? The other guy,
Dean.
Not Dean. He just shows up. They're like, "Who are you?" And he's just like standing in their office. Like, yep, I'm Dean. You all right? How's it going? So yeah, there's all this. The riots are happening. It's like,
A very simple but effective storyline, like riots of a new gang rising up, and like, oh shit, now we gotta go out and.
When I've watched this on long plays before, this one has more of a story, doesn't it? In terms of it, kind of can you select your different level, like which way you go through the game on this one? Or
I think there is something where you can kind of it's been fucking forever since I played it, but I feel like there is a little bit of options available when you play it. You don't have to like go where the game tells you. Like, you can, if you want to go up here, you can and play that level first, I think.
Yeah.
I'll let the intro go through and stage select and let them fight out a little bit so people can see gameplay, and then I'll kind of like skim through it and go to the end of the level and we can see visually. Because I seem to remember it's one of those it branches off. You can choose a path. I feel like it, but much like Tyler, I think Final Fight 3 easily the least played for me, and that's not like a detriment to it. It's just the card itself is the most valuable out of all of these. Maybe
really?
Wow, I didn't know that.
I think so. Maybe Mighty Final Fight on
that
Nintendo.
Is pretty rare.
That one's probably a little bit more, but Final Fight 3 price wise definitely up there.
Wow.
Yeah, see, in motion, the shorts don't look that bad.
Look, why is he doing this walk? It's doing like a sexy little walk as well.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of that Amiga flair. You know?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. No,
But
yes,
I
the
like
legs
when
doing
they would
this.
punch, there'd be like a 1, 2, 3, and it just like a carry through, like a yeah, that's it. Like we got 1, 2, 3, and it's like this rapid punch kind of combo. Like if
Yeah,
it was just like these nice little combos that they throw in like that. They were a little bit more I don't know, they look more cinematic, I guess.
Profile of Guy. Do they still? They don't have. His favorite foods are boiled rice soaked in tea and cold tofu.
I like
Oh.
boiled rice.
5'10", 159. So
I'm
me and
taller than Guy. Bloody hell.
God,
Guy-
he weighs. Nathan
Guy
weighs
and
more
I,
than
Guy and I are probably the same size then.
You could go
roughly.
toe to toe with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll kick his ass.
Well, you could do on the Amiga version where he's just like, and he just does his little punch. You could be like, I'll just stand there. Final Fight 3.
So
When did this come out? Was this 95 or 96?
Yeah, because I
that,
feel like it was on the verge of like not too long PlayStation would become available.
I'll look it up real quick.
Which is probably why me and my brother didn't play it. Like we played it quite a bit, not as much as Final Fight 2, but
Yeah, I was the same way, Tyler. Anytime going from Nintendo to Super Nintendo and then Super Nintendo to PlayStation and N64, I would find myself not coming back to the older stuff as much.
yeah.
And then coming to realize as you get older that, in fact, Super Nintendo and Nintendo graphically hold up infinitely better than
Oh, fuck
PS1
yeah.
and N64.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even though there's some PlayStation 1 stuff that are like Twisted Metal 2 that's just going to be remain timeless, you know. Forever,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
But I mean, a lot of
But-
people would play that and be like, this is shit. But Final Fight 3 in the States came out in January of 96. And James,
Oh, wow.
it would have come out your way March of 96. So very, very late in the.
96.
Wow.
When you
Yeah,
think
very-
like the first one came out, well, it was. I think technically it came out in Japan 89 and then America 90 and the European like 1990.
I was thinking
but-
we got it in 89. I thought.
Oh, you must have got it in 89 then. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it was like very late in 89, but I definitely remember the first Final Fight arcade in 1990 for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like because 80, 89, and 90, like that's like kindergarten for me and Nathan. Like that bleed. That's just like that time frame where like video games
yeah.
and turtles and all that stuff are
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
blend together like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't go over his lycra shorts. They're ridiculous.
I don't know. Like, the graphics still look so fucking good. The game, like the action is just fast paced.
There's one level where they're on a bus, aren't they? I did like that.
Then Nathan, you have to buy this so I can come over there and play it.
Let's look up on eBay how much Final Fight 3 is going for right now.
Yeah, you should. I'm intrigued by this.
Just for the cart, gentlemen, you're looking at about $200.
Wow.
That's
Neo-
pocket change to you.
That's
Neo.
Neo
Oh,
Geo.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Tyler, I'm just gonna buy one right now.
All right, I will be over right after we get over this broadcast.
No, actually, I'm pretty certain that Capcom's been doing fighting collections. So I think that they're about to come out with one that has all the
Yeah.
Final Fights together. I think that I also need to look up because they just came out with Capcom versus Street Fighter collection that
I'll be
bought.
right back, guys.
And I
Yeah,
think
sure.
that might be coming out in the future. So I'll look it up to confirm, or the chat can tell me first. But let's kind of scroll through here and see if there was any, or did I miss it? Was there anything about choosing a path?
Yeah, I'm sure, like, unless I'm misremembering. I remember, like I said, this one was more, it felt like it was more story driven because you had cutscenes and stuff where
Yeah.
like, there was more of a story, like a narrative being spun rather than here's the next level.
Yeah, I think we're about to get one. There
There we go. Yeah,
A
yeah.
little cutscene there.
It's like,
Let's
okay,
see.
well, that's the end. It's almost like that's game over. We finished the mission. Yeah, we beat up the baddies.
Well, this is the interesting thing about Final Fight 3 is I think we're getting ready to have it right here, I believe, on this next little sub level here. I'm pretty sure anyway. I think after they beat these guys, I think that you just go up, and that was sort of different. Unless did Final Fight 2 also have
Final
that?
Fight had the one where the level where you're going like diagonally down, which was
Yeah.
like unique.
Yeah, that was mind blowing at the time. Yeah. Anytime you get stuff like that, I'm like, holy shit, we're moving in
Yeah,
a
we're going
different
up the
direction.
screen. Yeah.
See if we can get if there's a branching path.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't remember what the villains are in the game either. Like I don't remember who the bosses were or anything.
I remember there was
that.
like another cop guy, and it was just like, oh, is this Eddie E? And it's like, no, it's just another kind of cop guy. But yeah, this was the bus level. I remember where they're fighting on the bus, which I thought that's pretty cool. It was like in Final Fight 2. I love that when they're in the UK, they're fighting on top of that train.
Oh, that's my favorite stage
because that's obviously they
train,
fight Felipe, and it's just like what a great idea for like. Is it like a circus train as well? Hence Felipe. I'm sure it is. Like,
I thought it was just like a freight train, like maybe the Mad Gear gang you're using to transport illegal stuff. Something we haven't touched on is the music of Final Fight.
Final Fight 2. Well, Final Fight has my favorite music. Final Fight 2 has some really banging tunes in it.
Oh fuck
There's
it does.
That kind of high pitched one where it's like bing, and I can't remember, it's hard for me to recreate, but the music in Final Fight 2, I found myself kind of humming quite a bit. And there's one in Final Fight 3 as well, another track. I'm like, damn. I don't think anything beats some of the music in Final Fight 1. That one that starts off with dun, 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 dun. It's just like, oh, that's great.
My favorite one, I think, is I love the first stage of Final Fight 1, but the first stage of Final Fight 2, like it, I can't. I feel like
it's hard to do the thing,
but it's just like it. I didn't even listen to that when I'm lifting weights. Like fuck yeah, man! I'm gonna beat the shit out of the Mad Gear gang, man.
When Tyler and I would play these games, and Tyler talked about how I would do all the sound effects and stuff. Tyler, when I start into this, you're like, oh yeah. So I would be like,
It never got old. He did it every time, and it was just as funny that.
I don't think there's branching paths in this.
Oh, maybe I completely.
I don't know why I thought that.
Why do we think all of us collectively were like, yeah, that seems really familiar? There must have been a branching path and maybe another beat.
Well, I know in the game that Nathan shit on, which was Peacekeepers. Which
that game sucks.
You eat shit, man.
Peacekeepers.
Yeah, it was another side. You could play as like 4 characters, and then as you advance, you could play as a robot or this guy. You could freeze stuff, and you could take different paths throughout the game. And
that game,
it was so fucking cool, man.
That game sucks.
It's a ripoff of Final Fight by far, but it's like but all the characters has a special power, and you had like 3 chances to use your superpowers throughout each level. You know.
All right.
So, but Nathan was like, man, this game sucked balls.
Yeah,
I tell you one, like obviously because when Final Fight happened, how many clones came out after that?
We just got the benefit of that, you know. If it was a side scroll beat 'em up, I was there, you know.
Oh yeah, likewise. Like I think my favorite one that I think came out very soon after was Burning Fight, the Neo Geo game. It was such a rip-off of Final Fight. You had like the big guy, and then you had a guy dressed in red, like Guy, and a guy who looked exactly like Cody. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of lawsuit. There's a Hulk Hogan villain in it. So he comes out. There's one, and I'm not joking. Who's that comedian it was like a big part of American culture for the longest time? Was it Rip Taylor? Rip Tyler?
Rip Torn? I mean, yeah, Rip Taylor, yeah.
Not Rip Torn.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a villain that looks like him. He's wearing
man, Rip Torn. I keep saying Rip Torn.
Yeah, Rip Taylor. But yeah, Burning Fight. That was big.
I gotta look up what this Rip Taylor villain looks like.
Yeah, he was like.
What's the game called again?
Burning Fight. That was like
I can look it up too, and we can play some footage of that after. I just wanted to show off Mighty Final Fight on NES.
Oh yeah, go on. I rarely know much about this.
Well, I mean, this uses that art style that you showed off earlier with like they're smaller in stature and everything.
Oh, this is definitely a Final Fight ripoff. Shit.
Oh yeah, you look at even the select screen.
And 93 for Mighty Final Fight. So this is late era Nintendo.
Villain. Is that the? No, that's not the Rip Taylor.
The Rip Torn character.
Yeah, the Rip Torn character.
What I liked about Mighty Final Fight here is that it doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah.
it was always like, oh no, this is like a comedy version of it. You know, it was still doing the same story, but yeah, this was for the Nintendo, just
Yeah.
the 8-bit system. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all these past three, I just would hear about as an adult. Like I never saw them or was aware of them. It was just I would hear about them and like, really, they did another one, and never got. This one looks more like Double Dragon almost. Like
It does. Yeah. The one thing that always pissed me off about Double Dragon, and I guess as an adult, I appreciate the control scheme, but just the fact, depending on which way you were facing, you had to push it to punch forward or kick back or
Yeah.
I actually got used to because when I played that when I go to Myrtle Beach, the arcade there has Double Dragon. I actually got where I'm because as a kid I never could get used to it, but actually like getting used to playing that way on the arcade was actually okay. This is once you have a little bit more time, you're not pressed for like you got to just take your time with it. It's a little bit more easier to get.
Take your time, got any
corners too, like
questions?
all right, I can afford to fuck around here and get used to this.
I got a photo of me
and then,
in the airport getting ready to get on a plane to fly to Canada in August of 1989, playing Double Dragon on the arcade. It's like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. It's just
is that photo within these photos?
No. That was I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think you can identify the cabinet. I think it's because the angle my dad took the photo. But it's I just think I remember playing Double Dragon before we got on the plane.
This isn't bad though. Like
No,
it's like I say, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
If I had known about it.
How much?
It kind of reminds me of that Jackie Chan game for Nintendo.
Yes, I know the exact one you're
boy.
talking about.
Holy shit!
I know the one you're talking about.
If you want to own an original cart, just the cart by itself of Mighty Final Fight, it's going to cost you anywhere between $300 and $400.
Wow.
Yeah. If you want to get it complete in box.
Oh, look at Damned. Oh, that's so cool.
I like the way it just drops out of the sky and it's like, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, there he is. Oh, I forgot his name's Thrasher in other places.
Yeah, it was Thrasher and Katana.
Did you see that? Was like bow down to me, and you get the option to choose yes or no, and then it'll give you a different line of dialogue. That's pretty cool.
That's sweet.
Oh, and you have experience points down there, so it's like an RPG.
Oh, wow.
That's cool. Now, do you lose strength if you use your special moves?
I would assume
they pull that shit in the Super Nintendo versions.
I hated that, but I understand why they did it.
No, there was no justification in that.
It keeps you from spamming the move over and over.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes the game too easy.
They should give you only 3 chances to use it per level. Like once you're out, like in the next X-Men arcade, once you use your mutant abilities, you're done for that level. No, that's cheap shit.
Yeah, so Hagar does it, and he's like, oh. Look, it looks like a hobo right there.
Yeah.
Oh, and his cap bounces up and down when you start punching him. That's
awesome. That's cool. God, yeah, I hate that I did not get to play this as a kid. This is it 1 player or 2 player?
I would assume.
I'm guessing it's 1.
Oh fuck!
Actually, hang on. Let's go back.
I'm guessing it's 1 just by the display. Kind of usually when these games have 2 player, your player thing would be across the screen.
Just one
shit.
player. Oh,
look at Cody there.
Yeah, there's Cody.
I had hair like that in 7th grade.
and in 9th grade too.
Yeah, right before 9th grade. That's why I got it cut right after we
the yearbook photo. Done. I don't have it on my computer, damn it.
Thank God. I don't need to remind about what a fucking idiot I look like. God.
That's not bad.
Cute little game.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, there's
Guy.
Yeah, there's Guy.
And I just love the simple names of these characters: Hagar, Guy, Cody. There's nothing outlandish or crazy. I just love that. And we need some Final Fight merchandise. Damn it!
Yeah,
none of these guys are named. It's just you just see enemy at the top. Yeah. The bosses are named because they converse with you.
Yeah,
fighting everybody. Let's go to the end here.
Yeah, let's see. I want to see how the game wraps up. Do you fight Belgium? Do you remember the? I'm sure we'll probably get to it, so I won't jump there just yet.
See a cyborg?
Sodom. Oh, Sodom.
She's in the next room. Jessica and I are scheduled to be married tomorrow.
I think he is a cyborg.
Let us begin our final fight. Oh,
I could see that being if Paul Anderson was directing Final Fight. That's how he work in the title Final Fight.
yeah.
Idiot.
Do you know why I think he's portrayed as a cyborg? Because it's something I think Capcom did after they had him fall out of a building. Is that I think this is him like, well,
This is the sequel to Final Fight. Like he's been
kind of
prepared
like
as a cyborg.
you know, like a sequel, but almost like a soft reboot. But it's like,
Okay.
oh no, he's because do you remember they did that pretty atrocious 3D Street Fighter-esque Final Fight Revenge game?
I never got to play that or see much of it.
I saw that at the arcade. That was bad. But one of the things I appreciated about it was that you could play as Belger, and he was a zombie because he was dead, so he'd come back from the dead. And I was like, that's a nice touch. That was a good touch. But that game was very bad.
Oh, it looks like it takes place in New York, unless Metro City is kind of like a stand-in for New York here, because the Statue of Liberty.
I mean, the Statue of Liberty was in Bay Area, wasn't it? When you're fighting Abigail, you see Statue of Liberty in the background.
That's right, it was. Yeah.
It's like Metro City. It's like that's New York. I can see the Twin Towers.
That's a cool name for a city too, Metro City. I just like that. I'm just like as we're talking about, it's like God. There's so much like merchandising that could be done with all these characters, the backgrounds, the look. Jesse looking all hot.
Do you know they early? I think it was early last year or the middle of last year. They released a 4-issue Final Fight comic book. Udon did.
Yeah, I heard about that. I never got around to, or never got a chance to check that out. Though
one of the bizarre things was one of the guys who the guy who wrote it used to illustrate stuff for Serial Geek magazine. So I was like, it's Matt Moylan. Yeah, I was like, it's Matt Moylan. That's what he's up to these days. And apparently, like I read a couple of reviews. I haven't seen any of it. And some of the reviews were like, this is exactly what you want in a video game adaptation. So yeah, so this is kind of jumping to like, I guess the finale of all of this with, obviously I think that it's common knowledge that Final Fight at one point was going to be called Street Fighter 89. Yeah. Apparently, like it was developed as Final Fight, but at one point they said maybe we could tie this into Street Fighter 89 because technically this is more Street Fighter than Street Fighter.
That's what always made sense to me as a kid. That's what I always thought.
They're walking along a street fighting, whereas Street Fighter is two people in certain arenas fighting. Street Fighter made sense. But I remember the first time I saw that again in a video game magazine. I was just like, it was going to be Street Fighter 89. That's so cool. But the thing I discovered a couple of weeks ago was that there's all these like, this is great. I'll start off with this. There's all these like fan versions of the game, and I think they're called like open development. I don't know enough about modern, computing and programming, but it's these people basically taking Final Fight and going, okay, this is a great game. Let's make it even better. So this is, I took a bunch of screenshots when I was watching the long play. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So instead of starting off in the slums, you start off like you've just exited, Hagar's office or something. So you make your way towards the slum. So they call this the prologue section.
Okay.
That's awesome.
It's really cool because so you've got this level where you're fighting the villains, like, the street thugs, your 2Ps, your Js, etc. And you go from here. I think the next one, you go to the this underground parking thing. You go into like a car park section, which I didn't take photos. But this bit I loved because when you exit the car park, you go into some slums and then you go into this screen. And if you look if you go back to the previous photo, the right hand side of that screen is the beginning of the very first moment in Final. I love that. I love the fact they you don't move across the screen. It just you run out of shot and then you start off and it comes like level one or whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like, brilliant. So they build on it, but they do so much storytelling with just the visuals.
Well, just like the barbed wire fit, it's almost like this. It's almost like Escape from New York, where it's like this part is like kind of cut off from the rest of the city, almost like.
It's like it's fantastic, and it's like the slums. Oh yeah, and prior to so the second level, when you go down the steps after you beat Damned, and then you're suddenly in the subway. Here, you go to the subway, so there's a metro map on the wall and everything, and so you're heading towards the turnstiles. And I was like, that's such a good idea to build upon. You don't just walk down the steps and you're at the turnstiles. You've got to go through a mini level of fighting the villains of this little mini walkway. And I've got to go to West Side and Main Park on train 1 or whatever. This
God,
one,
this is awesome.
you like
Yeah.
because again, when you fight Sodom, you get off the train. You have that little moment you're on the train, and then you jump through, and then you jump off that walkway, and then you're in the wrestling ring.
Yeah.
They have this like, which makes sense, like a gantry that leads to that. And I was like, that's such a, and it's actually a flat level, so there's no depth to this one. You literally are fighting on a walkway. I was like, it's such a great idea.
That makes a lot more sense, because even though I just roll with the logic in the Final Fight
Yeah, of
games with
course.
some of the stuff like that, but this, like, battling your way to a big wrestling arena, like to the actual ring itself, is like, oh, that's fucking
And
brilliant.
This is what I loved about this as well. I think it's connected is after you smash up the car, then and you think to yourself, like, where would that gas station be? It'd be like on a main road or something. So now you're on a main road, and if you look in the foreground, you get like Slash and Axel driving past, and then they once the bikes exit the screen, they suddenly enter the screen, like they've parked their bikes, they're ready to fight. And this leads to the Eddie E level, the casino.
Oh,
But this,
yeah.
I thought this was a touch of genius. Like, one of the things I always found fascinating about the Andorre family is it was all the same sprite, but you had all the different, like you had Andre Jr., and then you had G Andre, U Andre, F Andre, and it was all like grandfather, uncle, father. So you had all these different versions of Andre, but they all look the same. Whereas this one, when you get captured, if you look in the background, the grandfather has got grey hair, and father and uncle have little beards. And I was just like, it's like nice little touches like that kind of create different sprites. And sure enough, when you fight the grandfather at the end of the level, he is like this grey-haired version of Andorre. And I was like, that's so good, because it just creates a little bit more of it. Just embellishes the lore.
It gives purpose to having like multiple, like there's logic, as opposed to it's just the same character with different clothing. Like
it's the advantage. Again, this is one of my favorite things. So the next step. The next level is the Bay Area, but what you have prior to that, I think this bit's genius. I remember like watching this thinking, are they going to do what I think they're going to do here? So you fight along what is obviously, let me think, location-wise, I think it's either New Jersey, because Manhattan's opposite. So you're fighting here. So it could be you're in Manhattan, whatever. But this is great. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking, are they going to do the Mega CD level? Because I don't know if you remember the Mega CD version, they had a time attack level where you fight on top of the Brooklyn Bridge.
But this looks awesome.
Oh, yeah, but it's great. So this was on the Mega CD. You fight on top of the Brooklyn Bridge. But like I say, in this game, they've done this precursor where you approach the bridge, which again is brilliant. And if you look in the distance, you see the sun rising. And then after this, so you fight with the villains. After this, you get into I think it's the Bay Area stage. And so then you're heading, we've crossed the bridge, and now we're heading towards the fight with Andre. And I was just, Abigail. And I was like, it's just such wonderful storytelling they've done with this.
A lot of great connections, like really enhancing this already elaborate world already.
And the game pretty much they have like little additions and stuff, but the game pretty much continues the same after that. But I just love the idea of them, and it's obviously like back in the day, maybe Capcom would have made the Andre sprites different, but you only have so much memory to play with. But it's like now, and it's funny, like I've seen 2 or 3 versions, that's the most recent, but there was another version before that was like slightly off in places, but they keep building and improving, and it's like, I don't know, years from now, is there going to be like an even bigger Final Fight game where it's like, we've defeated Belgium. Now let's get on a plane. We have to fight on a plane. Now we're in Europe. Now we're fighting Felipe. You know what I mean? It's like, how much more can they go with it?
Yeah, you could make that entire train sequence. Like it could be like a cargo to like a passenger section, much like the subway train, or fighting on top of the actual subway train, like as it's going and over the passenger car.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that'd be so cool.
I think about that first game, and especially James, with you showing off the fan created aspects where it's just moving next. We're gradually making our way. It honestly reminds me of the Warriors so much.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Oh,
that it would, if you could picture someone taking that and making it like the Warriors in live action, there's an alternate reality. There's an alternate reality where Capcom made a video game of the Warriors,
and it's like you have to fight your way from New York to Long Island. That's your mission. That's what you've got to do. You're going to fight on the subway, on the trains. You're going to fight in the streets. You're going to fight the mime gang. You're going to fight the baseball furies and all these, or furries. You're going to fight all these characters. But like, I mean, let's be honest. You go back to the Warriors. I know it's slightly a bit of a tangent, but the Warriors is so much an influence for all of those kind of fighting games that followed.
Yeah.
In I think it's Street Fighter 3. There's a character that looks like he's straight out of the Warriors. He's got the baseball face paint and he's got the baseball thing. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I wish he was in the first one, you know.
Just imagine a Walter Hill directed Final Fight film.
God.
Yeah. There's some god awful AI trailers on YouTube.
No.
Like,
Dude,
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
About.
No, there's a guy at my job that he knows specifically how much I fucking hate those. So he'd be like, "Hey man, check out this new trailer." I'm like, "Fuck you! I know it's AI generated," and he just busts out laughing.
The Final Fight one, I watched one, was it yesterday? And I mean, I always want to leave a comment. I mean, I always dislike them, but I always want to leave a comment and say, "Oh, I love the way that Hagar's costume changes in every shot, and the way his face changes in every shot, and the way his body moves like this." You know, it's like, oh, that's so natural. Oh, look at Hagar throwing a punch.
Yeah.
It's so fucking shit.
What is the logic in? Is it just so the person who posts it can get likes and subscribers by posting this random bullshit?
Well, there's one channel, and it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, you can spot their shit a mile off. But Dushan fell for one the other week. He was like, "Oh, look at this like new shit Superman trailer." I was like, "Dude, that's AI shit," you know. There was like it wasn't even convincing, but he'd seen a screenshot. He was like, "Oh no," and I was like, "No, don't worry." I was like, "That's more of that." There's one channel that basically takes every new trailer and says second trailer or new trailer, and just adds like a random shot of like the new Superman looking in.
I've seen that stuff
weird.
before the Fantastic Four trailer dropped.
Yes.
I think a couple of days before that. So, and at first I got excited. I'm like, oh, hey, they dropped the trailer today. I didn't know they were doing this. And I started watching the first 20 seconds. I'm like, no, this isn't it. Click, turn it off.
What astonishes me, and I always laugh, and I try not to spend too long, but you look at the comments and it's like, oh, you're all stupid.
Yeah, they all buy it, hook, line, and sinker.
And it's like, because that's how people move, isn't it? People often do this and then show 17 fingers. Yeah, that's normal, isn't it? And you think, like, are you people actually watching these trailers? Like, because, like I say, the AI, I've seen, there's 2 or 3 Final Fight ones. There's one where it's like, damned, and it says, Michael Clark Duncan is damned. It's like, well,
oh, God.
Well, one, he's dead, so that'd be unique.
He's been gone for a while now.
Also, it's an incredibly racist depiction of Michael Clark Duncan as well, if you don't mind me saying. It's like, okay. It's really AI trailers. I just fucking hate them so much.
And they're all over the fucking place. Like, it just
are.
makes me feel like there must be a high demand for this bullshit.
The weird thing is, when I upload any videos to YouTube, it says there's a box you have to tick to say whether if there's any AI content in it or not. And it's like, because I'm guessing what happens if you say yes, it will come up on the video contains AI content.
Yeah.
Obviously, these pieces of shit aren't doing that when they
Can't
upload
read
the videos.
or just don't. All they're drawn to what it's about, as opposed to the disclaimer. This is fake.
Yeah. Well, no, like, I mean, in fairness to the idiots that watch those videos and think they're real, the person uploading it just won't ever say, you know, they'll even put words like official, and it's just like, what, officially shit and fake?
That's what makes me feel like, are they strictly posting stuff so that way people can like their videos, subscribe to their bullshit, and that's it?
I know, Tyler, it's pretty much just an easy way to get the views, get subscribers.
I could fucking do it. It would take me about, I could finish this right now, and then 2 hours later put up a Fantastic Four new trailer.
Yeah.
And I could get like 28,000 views.
And then, James, after that, you could put up trailer reaction video.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, me, but I'll do an AI version of me. So you go like,
yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, just like so perfect.
Would you guys like to fantasy cast a final fight?
Oh, I didn't
No.
think about that. That's a good idea.
Sure.
Are we
Let's
gonna do the
base
classic thing?
let's
Is it-
base
we
it
Go on.
off. Let's base it off of the first game and storyline.
I was going to say, you've
Oh.
got to do what all bad castings do. It's like, which actor has a moustache? Tom Selleck as Hagar. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I'm going to say right now, Brandon Lee is Guy.
That's a good
Yeah.
shout. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
he's got a good. Brandon Lee had like a great build for it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damn right he did.
Brandon Lee as Guy. That's great.
Yeah.
He could be.
Now,
co-
and Brandon, would you give Brandon Lee kind of how he was in Showdown in Little Tokyo, like his, or would you?
See, I think of Rapid Fire.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
rapid, yeah,
thinking of,
rapid
yeah.
fire.
I
Yeah,
was thinking
okay.
Rapid Fire too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would be Cody?
But not too far from Showdown Little Tokyo, though. But
I got it. I
just-
got it. Corey Feldman as Cody.
Oh, God.
No, no.
All right, get him out of here.
Yeah, fucking dork.
Um,
Who could play Cody from the 90s? Like, I'm thinking like 1980s casting as well.
I would,
I
I would go,
like
I would
late
go
80s,
like,
early 90s.
I would say early, for me, probably early 90s. In my mind, I'm thinking this sort of correlates with, Double Dragon, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter
okay,
all
yeah.
coming out. It's like, oh, Final
Yeah.
Fight's coming out.
Okay. Who could play Cody?
In the early 90s.
I almost feel like they might cast someone who's not like an
I was going to
actual
say, like, what
martial
about a
artist, but an
wrestler or
actor.
something? Like a wrestler.
They would have cast a wrestler because I picture people look like Texas Tornado playing one of the thugs, like because
Yeah,
he just has the
make-
look of like
Make him not talk, though. Don't give me.
Yeah,
they-
don't
they-
give him
that was
dialogue.
you can't go. We're going. What's the name of the place again? Metro City. Oh yeah, you're not. We're not going to. Yeah.
cut.
Cut.
Oh, we'd have to cast Sid Udy, Psycho Sid, as one of the Mad Gear members. I don't know what he
Oh,
is.
yeah.
See, I always felt like he had to be damned because it was blonde hair. Like, because
And at the-
look at this. Like, clearly, it's a white guy here on the cabinet artwork, so it wouldn't necessarily have to be a black guy.
Oh no, I completely agree. Like,
Yeah.
it's that would be really interesting. Like, because
So we're
I
gonna
mean, he looked like a comic book character, a video game
Yeah.
character.
Sid
Yeah,
Justice, fresh
yeah,
off
Sid
of his,
Justice. Yeah.
Yeah.
fresh off his feud with Hulk Hogan, right?
Yeah.
From
Being Final
WrestleMania
Fight.
8. Yeah.
Was
He's
it?
got his
8?
curly hair.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
turned it into dreadlocks. And he's like,
I mean, he would
Yeah.
have been. He
You're
would have been
making me
pretty
look
good.
like a jackass because I have half the brain that you do.
yeah. cut to Kevin Nash with the because he's
Yeah,
wearing
laughing in
that
the rain.
mask.
I mean, you could probably put Nash in Final
Oh,
Fight.
Nash would have to play one of the like Abigail or Oh no, he had to play the cop Eddie E. Like
That's actually
Kevin
good. I like that.
Yeah, we would have to make use of wrestlers at that time.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. I'm still
But who-
trying to think who could play Cody and
Who would be
Hagar.
Cody?
Cody and Hagar.
Let me.
You know, as much as I almost feel like
you're gonna do
you
Van
know-
Damme, aren't you? You son of a bitch.
no. I was thinking for Hagar because he has worn facial hair before, but because he can do martial arts, would be Dolph Lundgren. He's a bit
feel like
older.
he's-
I feel like
I
he's
just-
got a great build. Like he's not massive like Hagar, but he's a big guy in shape. I don't, you know.
I'm going to go for a wrestler again. Dr. Death Steve Williams as Hagar.
No!
The cast it was one of the thugs too, man.
Yeah, Jim Ross helped him get the gig, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you know what we could do? We could cast like a lot of the big. We could cast Giant Gonzalez, Elegante is like one of the Andor family.
Gonzalez, yeah.
Yeah, we could make him one of the members of the Andor family. You know,
He's so good.
he doesn't
Yeah,
talk. He just
Yeah, Taker's sitting there. It's like put him in the film, so I don't have to wrestle him at
Yeah.
WrestleMania 9.
yeah.
Hey,
Oh, because you can totally see him grabbing Brandon Lee by the throat, like you know, just yeah.
I guess.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
think
no.
like of an actor that could play Cody. Someone who you think like could like
See,
would
if
bulk
this
up
was,
for the
if
part
this was
as well.
early '80s, I'd say Patrick Swayze, like young Patrick Swayze, because I feel like by this time
I
he'd been
do
too old.
like-
To,
I
he
do
would've
like
been too old, I think.
Swayze.
Yeah, I do too, because he can clear a Roadhouse and Point Break alone says
Roadhouse,
this guy can do
yeah.
action.
Mm.
I like Swayze as
I
a
mean,
casting.
But you know
Sway-
what? Maybe he could be, because then we can make him and Brandon Lee like not too far apart in age. Like Brandon Lee clearly is younger, but
How about because it was still pretty early in his career, so he's not quite as seasoned as Swayze. Brad Pitt, he's got the youth, he's got the look.
Yeah, 'cause
Maybe.
Brad would have been in his, because he did Thelma and Louise.
In
Like, was that
91?
92?
91, 92, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, a young Brad Pitt probably could be cast as Cody. Him, and if we're going that young, then Brad Pitt, a little bit more experienced than Patrick Swayze.
Who's Hagar though?
Would you also consider potentially young Johnny Depp as Guy, if not Brandon Lee?
No,
Maybe.
I think obviously young Johnny
I
Depp.
feel like-
Yeah, with Brandon Lee kind of having more like that martial arts heritage
Because
background.
I feel like
too.
if you're gonna have to have some authenticity with some of
Yeah.
these characters, like, I feel like Brandon, if you hire an actor to play Hagar and an actor to play Cody, like, you got to have someone in there. Like, I'm not going to cast Van Damme because I love Van Damme. Like, it just doesn't make sense to cast Van Damme.
keep Van Damme away from it.
No.
The Hagar one is really stumping though.
Yeah, a guy that's that big.
You would almost like you kind of would almost have to go wrestler in that regard.
I was thinking, imagine like Hulk Hogan with like a toupee and like to paint his moustache black. That'd be amazing.
Just hear Nathan's reaction.
I mean,
like,
I would have
really-
went and saw it as a kid because
I
there was
too. We would have.
I mean, I fucking saw Suburban Commando in movie theaters.
What was
Oh,
that?
I did
What was?
too.
Oh my god! No holds barred. Oh, God.
fucking yeah.
Actually,
Oh.
Zeus should play a baddie in it.
Oh,
in the
Tiny
movie.
Tiny would have to be.
Tiny Lister, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what we can, but his presence alone would have to. Oh, we got to use him.
But don't make him like one of the make him a Mad Gear, but not one of the established ones in the video game. Just call him Tiny. With his bong eye and be like, "Grrr."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's behind a cage. Yeah. He's spitting everywhere.
Oh, we have to cast Sherry Martell as like Roxy or something like that, just because she could be so fucking,
You don't know where
irritating.
I'll be, Hogan. You don't know where I'll be. I love that promo.
No, I'm looking because
I want to cast Michael Ironside as Belger. Because I just feel like he can play such a great villain.
I do like that actually.
Because he's bald already. So give him the
Give him a little
beard down
beard.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is post accident, and I can't. I'm trying to look here to see what he looked like in the early '90s.
I was gonna say, well, Christopher Reeve as Belcher.
No. I was thinking for Hagar.
I was wondering if Nick was going to send that picture of Beefcake sitting at home.
Oh my God! No.
Because I want James to see that picture. I think I got it saved on my phone.
Yeah, all right. Well, message it to me. I'll put it on the screen for everybody. I'm thinking maybe for Hagar, but he's only 6'1", and I can't remember what he was looking like in the early '90s. But maybe Magnum TA because he could cut a good promo. He's got the mustache. He cut his hair short.
He got the mustache.
I don't think he's got the height and the
no. I don't. No.
That's a good. I'll at least bring him in to do a test.
We'll do an audition with him. Yeah.
There you go. Here's Beefcake for you, James.
What is this Bruce Beefcake image?
Oh, God.
So I've seen all of his
embarrassing
images.
This was a thing where it was like you could win it was like an auction
dinner or something. Yeah,
you could win dinner with him, but there you go. This would have been 2003 or so.
Oh my God,
Tyler, it's hilarious that you just have that saved on your phone.
Because Nathan shared it to me, and we would use it and laugh at it all the time. So I looked it up one day and I'm like, oh, I'm saving this. Like, I never want to forget the joy we had laughing at the picture.
That's a great image.
I want an 8x10 of
Actually, shit, man. Tyler, I can take this and
so use that to subscribe
for a subscribe thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Where
That
else
is
are you gonna
so
get this on
good.
YouTube, people?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
We'll
good.
Photoshop that, and instead of Spidey and Superman,
And
we'll have
Bolo,
Beefcake.
Yeah.
Oh God, that is brilliant.
A couple of while we're still thinking of some fan castings, a couple of comments I wanted to highlight from earlier in the chat room. We had from Johnny Cuck. My beat 'em up memories in the arcade are strongest with X-Men, Alien vs. Predator. At home, Streets of Rage 2, Golden Axe, and TMNT Hyperstone Heist. So we had that.
Love Golden Axe.
When
Alien
I
vs.
had
Predator, another overrated side scroll beat 'em up.
What?
Alien vs. Predator. That game fucking rocks.
Yeah, and another Capcom game.
Yeah.
So and they haven't done much with that at all. They had I don't know if either of you have seen this, but it was a plug and play 2-player arcade. You just plug it in, it had arcade games installed on it. But it was just a giant Capcom logo that had the joysticks attached to it.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
That's cool.
Let me find it.
Yeah, I loved Golden Axe. I remember when I got it on the Amiga, there was a thing called the Action Replay, not the same thing as the American one, but the Action Replay you'd plug in the side of your Amiga, and you could look at the code of the game and change sprites. So my ambition, it never came to fruition. It sounds like a little song I made. I was started to turn the Golden Axe sprites into He-Man sprites.
I knew that's where you were going.
Because it was just like, this is too good to be true. So I started turning like sprite pixel by pixel, going through, changing like Axe Battler into He-Man. It took me bloody ages. I did one frame and I was like, yeah, I won't be doing that again. That's awesome. So cool. I love that.
That's badass.
And so one of the 16 classic arcade games installed on this is Alien vs. Predator.
Oh right, wow.
Yeah. And part of me wanted to get that, but it was pretty pricey.
Stupid expensive. Nice.
Yeah. Another comment that we had to kind of piggyback off of that, Oliver Belmont. This goes to all of us, but he says, Nathan, have you played Streets of Rage 1 through 3 for Sega Genesis, and how do you compare it with Final Fight for Super Nintendo? Because a lot of people, this is the big Super Nintendo Genesis, or in your case, James, Mega Drive. The argument, are you Streets of Rage or are you a Final Fight? For me, I'm going to pick Final Fight just because back then, money-wise, with my parents, it's either this console or that. And of course I was going to go Super Nintendo, but I deeply regret, and I wish I had been a little bit older at the time, been a teenager, would have gone and mowed lawns or whatever to have gotten money and bought a Genesis, because there's so many great games.
Oh yeah.
On the Sega Genesis. And Streets of Rage is Streets of Rage 2 is my favorite out of those, and it's phenomenal.
My friend was a big Streets of Rage fan because he had a Mega Drive or a Genesis, but he was also he was the one I played Final Fight with, so he loved Final Fight. But at home, Streets of Rage was his Final Fight because it was the equivalent. But I do love some of the game dynamics that Streets of Rage have, where that one where you fight the boss. I don't know if it's the first or second. You fight the boss, and then he gives you you have the choice. Like, you can join him, I think, or you can fight him. And I love the idea of like, oh, you can have a good ending or a bad ending.
Yeah.
And if you were with like a tour player, then you'd fight that person. They'd have to make. I was just like, that's a really good way to mix it up. But yeah, I never got into Streets of Rage. I remember seeing, again, when I'm watching the old long plays, there's one version, or I think it might be the third, maybe second, but one of the characters is like scientist fighter, old man. It's got like robotic limbs and stuff. It's like, that's unique. That's different.
Yeah.
Slightly different from like the grounded reality of Final Fight, just people just beating each other up, But yeah.
Tyler, it's safe to assume Final Fight over Streets of Rage. Did you? You never even played Streets of Rage?
No,
at all, right?
My two buddies from childhood each had Sega. Neither one of them rented or owned Streets
of
Rage.
Wow.
So it was never played ever.
What were they playing instead? What were the
they had
Altered Beast? Yeah.
Oh, no, I played the arcade version of that about last year because I always wanted to play that.
Oh, oh my God, that was one of the first
I remember
arcades.
seeing the commercials for it. And I'm like, I want to play that, but they had Sonic, X-Men, Street Fighter Champion Edition, and that's how I got to play the Punisher side scroll beat 'em up.
Oh, with Nick Fury, yeah.
Yeah, with Nick Fury. Yeah, of course he maybe plays Nick Fury, asshole. Like, I want to
that's
play.
Not too bad.
Yes, but I was like, oh man, it's just so cool though. But but neither one of them ever rented Streets of Rage or owned a copy. It was never even mentioned, like Streets of Rage. So
That's really interesting because, like, the kind of, I grew up thinking that Streets of Rage was owned by every person that owned a Sega, Genesis, or Mega Drive, but it's
Yeah.
obviously clearly not the case. But
well,
yeah,
like
there is,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I do get the impression that pop culture remembers, and I think it's because it was a home system. With Streets of Rage, it was directly to the home system. I feel like pop culture remembers Streets of Rage more fondly than Final Fight, in the sense of, I love Final Fight and it will always be my jam. But I think because Streets of Rage, I think it was even packaged with the Genesis and Mega Drive at
Yeah,
one
I think
point.
it was. Yeah.
It was definitely in the UK. So I think because it was like in a part of so many more people's lives, I think more people go, oh, Streets of Rage, yeah, than Final Fight. Whereas I think, for me personally, it's always going to be Final Fight.
Yeah.
And-
If I had the opportunity, I know I would have liked it. I've never really watched footage of it, but I've always heard good things about it. It's a highly celebrated game. I just they had other games like The Tick, X-Men, Jurassic Park. Like those are the games I would get a chance to play. Of course, I had to beg to play because one of them wouldn't want to play it. And then I talked him into turning it on, and he's like, "Well, you can watch me play." I'm like, "You motherfucker!" Like just.
Do you remember? I know we're not really talking about beat 'em ups in general. Do you remember DJ Boy? I used to love DJ Boy. That was the one where he's on
no.
roller skates.
No.
That was a fun game.
What?
It's incredibly hard to get the original now because it had very racist characters in it. What you gonna do?
What was the game that you were discussing earlier that Tyler looked at? I'll show footage of that.
Burning Fight.
Yeah. Now, I since we're on the subject of beat 'em ups, and I was like, I might as well jump on this now. And I know Nathan has heard me talk about it, but James, have you? And maybe I've mentioned it. The Spider-Man beat 'em up.
Oh God, yeah, like that's
Yeah.
fucking amazing. When you see,
Yes.
it came out when McFarlane, Larson, Bailey, everyone was like, it was all that Spider-Man hype about the comics. It was just like he was the biggest character in comic books at the time. And I remember me and my friend playing that first level, and you see like it's Eddie Brock in the thing, and then you see and then suddenly when the screen did that thing, we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was so unique because it felt like Final Fight, but it felt like something else. It was just like, and like all the little captions, all the dialogue, it was like, such a good game.
I make a point to play it every time, at least for a little bit.
Yeah,
I remember one time I went and played it and just beat it. Like I just went back to the arcade and just beat it by myself as Spider-Man.
Took care of business. Yeah, I mean, look at
man.
this.
Yeah.
It was a great arcade. It's like there's one level where you fight on top of a train. I think this came out like literally a year after Final Fight. But I mean, look at the characters.
Billy,
Cody,
Duke,
Guy.
and Ryu. Yeah.
Yeah. But I tell you what was,
yeah.
this was one thing as well. You could go. It had like characters would come in from the background. That was one thing. The other thing was when you punched, it was like really pacey compared to Final Fight. The punches were much faster. It was like bah, 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 bah. It was really good in that sense.
Like that arcade machine they got in the background there with guns on it. That's cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's things like you go into, I think you go into shops. There's one, I think you go into a jewelry store and you just have to smash up the jewelry store. It's like I don't know what kind of
this
moral grounds is. Yeah, it was a really. My friend and I played that. Well, I loved a lot of the Neo Geo stuff like World
Is that a
Heroes.
deli meat he's throwing?
Probably.
Oh, look at deli meat.
Oh, yeah.
Taste my meat.
Yeah. Oh, it's dynamite.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the first level. You fight the Hulk Hogan guy, and it's so blatantly. I mean, Hulk Hogan popped up in so many games in the 80s.
I know in the game World Heroes, which is the Street Fighter knockoff, there's a blatant, Hulk Hogan. And they had have you played that game, James? World Heroes?
It's the only arcade I ever completed.
Oh wow!
I played as the I forget his name now. There was like the Bruce Lee knockoff, the Fei Long ripoff.
There's Hulk strutting his shit right there.
Here he comes, like he pushes over a fountain. Here he comes.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
This was a really fun game though, because I think in a way you're not looking to replace Final Fight, but you're thinking like, Oh, there's another beat
Hey,
'em up.
if you like Final Fight, you'll like this. You know?
Yeah.
It's that kind. It's kind of like the old bootleg toy lines. Hey, if you like Masters of the Universe,
Yeah.
you like Warlord or Warrior Beasts. It's like, oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, I'm. It was like when Fighting Force came out for PlayStation. It was like Final Fight,
Dude,
but just like I
that-
had a blast playing that.
Well, did you know that was originally supposed to be Streets of Rage 4?
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
that-
shit! No, I had no fucking clue.
That was the plan for Fighting Force, and Fighting Force was a game that I saw in the game. I think it was Ultra Game Players that I was getting, and they gave it a decent review, and I own that game, and I love it.
I had no idea that you were a fan of it because I liked playing that game.
Yeah, I think they came out with a sequel that wasn't as good, if I remember.
Yeah, I
correctly.
think they did. I don't think I don't know if I got around to playing it or not, but that first one was a blast to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was I think Idios put that out, who did Tomb Raider, and they did a couple other games. So at that point, they were on a roll, and then
Couldn't get out of that damn cave in Tomb Raider. That was a moron.
One more comment, and then you guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
All right. So this also comes from Johnny Cock, and we were talking about this. Storm Collectibles just revealed Final Fight figures.
We were just talking about it before we got started, so it's thrilling. Yeah, like
So
my
cool.
God.
Oh, I do like a Dan figure. So
Yeah,
cool.
that's cool.
I'll probably get those.
Hagar and Cody, I kind of feel like I have to. Like I'm.
Yeah, I feel like I have to as well.
Yeah, and I'm like, I hope they release some of the villains. Like, I want a Dan, I want a Rolento. Like, yeah.
And James, since you're a big fan of the Alpha games, this Sagat color scheme and everything, that's from Alpha, right? One of the Alpha games, maybe?
Which one are we looking at?
Sagat.
Oh, Sagat. Yes, that is actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Even like he's kind of, because in the original Street Fighter 2, Sagat was quite skinny. In Alpha, they made him more bulky.
Yeah.
I always loved. I remember like the first time, Dan's, because Dan came from that piece of that official illustration of Sagat. It's like this. I remember it was in like this Street Fighter 2 magazine my friend owned. And we were like, they're mocking Neo Geo because it's Sagat and he's holding a fighter by the head, like by his feet, and it's the guy from Art of Fighting, which was a Neo Geo game. So then when Capcom continued making Street Fighter, they introduced Dan, who's based on the Art of Fighting guy with the ponytail. It was like, that's such a cheeky little thing to do.
God, what is his name? Because I liked Art of Fighting.
I never. Art of Fighting was good because you could jump back and forward, couldn't you, between the levels? Yeah, that was pretty awesome. But
and wasn't Fatal Fury? You could jump to the back.
Fatal Fury as well. Sorry, yeah.
There were quite a few of those games that they would come out with at the time that forward and back, and then zoom in, zoom out.
Yeah, the zoom in.
Yeah. Well,
Fatal Fury, I did like that series because the guy who made.
I playing that too.
I think the guy who designed Street Fighter 2 left after Street Fighter 2, was hired by SNK, and that his first contribution was Fatal Fury. That was like what he went from Street Fighter 2 to Fatal Fury. But yeah,
Terry Goddard.
Terry Bogard, wasn't it?
Is it Terry Bogard? Terry? Who the hell is Terry Goddard?
I'm sure it's Bogard, as in. Like,
I'm pretty sure it's Terry Bogard.
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right too. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
and obviously everybody's fan favorite. I don't know how you pronounce her surname, Mei Shiranawa or whatever. She was ridiculous with the fan, and it's just she her clothes get skimpier and skimpier. She's like the cosplay's choice of the 90s, or probably noughties, I should say.
Christ.
But yeah, Fatal Fury. Fatal Fury 2 was awesome, and then I remember like Fatal Fury 2 playing it a lot. There was I remember playing it on holiday once and just being like, I said, "You Fatal Fury 2," and World Heroes 2, which had like.
I don't think I ever got to play World Heroes.
Captain
2. It was all about
Kidd,
the first one.
And he was like the pirate guy, and he would do like almost like an uppercut, and a giant ghost ship would come out. I was like, they've gone crazy with all these moves now.
Or like Clay Fighter.
Play Fighter, yeah.
Yeah. I was so pissed because I beat it so quickly. You just fight that giant snowball ring as the boss of the game. Like, that's it?
I mean, in the 90s, Capcom was so good at putting out all those games. Like Captain Commando was another beat 'em up.
Never got to play that. Never
played it a few times in the arcade.
What is it? Knights of the Round.
Knights of the Round, yeah, that was one. All those beat 'em ups. They just, and then Capcom just slowly kind of began stepping, well, as most of these companies did, didn't they? Just kind of stepping back.
I think what sort of happened there is the gaming industry, especially around the PlayStation era, changed entirely. So when I think Capcom, Resident Evil, it starts to shift into more of that and less of the sprites. But Fatal Fury, you're talking about that. I always enjoyed the character selection.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember the guy on the right, the far right, Kim Cap-Wan or something, and when he would do his kicks, it would sound like he was sneezing. He was like, "Achoo!" It was.
God, I haven't seen these characters in a long fucking time.
Yeah, you got Vader back there.
Yeah, Vader. Yeah, blatant, like yeah. There's my May Shiranawa as well.
Which, speaking of Capcom and the Saturday Night Slam Masters, they had a character that was pretty much Vader.
That's right.
He had like
that real quick before we call it a night.
He had the Mastodon. I want to say, didn't he have like the Mastodon entrance attire too?
He had something like that. Yeah. The character designs in that game were really cool. I think they had like tiger mask and stuff like that. And they were
I'm surprised Tyler never played it because
I remember seeing it, but I had no idea like it was.
It was at Walmart, man. I was in there like playing it. I was like,
I never saw an arcade version. Like I remember seeing it to rent on Super Nintendo, but I thought it was just kind of like this generic throwaway wrestling game.
It was first time I saw it was in. I went to Chinatown in London, bought this Japanese magazine of like full of like video game stuff. And it was all like not translated. That's the first time I saw Turtles in Time. I was like, "What the hell is this?" And there was another one. It was so cool, like just seeing images from Turtles in Time. And yeah, there was Saturday Night Slam Masters. I was like, "Oh, that is so bloody cool." It just looked like, because I remember seeing the promotional artwork, and it was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I gotta see this.
There were two. Like they did a sequel as well. They did Saturday Night Slam Masters, Saturday Night Slam Masters 2. And I felt like they did a couple of other like special editions, but yeah, that first one was really, really cool.
You could work that into a Final Fight animated movie, like starting with Hagar's career as a professional wrestler and retires as champ.
Yeah,
decides he's going to run for mayor, and
I think unless I'm mistaken, I don't know. I don't want to say that. I'm sure I remember like look at this. Yeah. I think it is a precursor to Final Fight because I think they talk about Hagar.
That's what I thought it was because I always thought it was reference that he is a retired wrestler.
Yeah, it came out after, but I think it's set years before.
Yeah. It's like a Shawn Michaels as the Rocker almost.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah, that's Vader. Oh, that's definitely Vader.
He flipped through the entrances so you could see it as good.
Oh,
yeah, but yeah, this is what it played like, Tyler.
Oh man.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and you could do tag matches in it too.
I was going to ask you guys if you could do tag matches.
Yeah, you can do tag matches, and that shit was chaotic.
Oh, I can believe that. Holy shit! They have finishers or anything like that? Like if you do like a finishing move, or was it pretty much just knock your punch till his energy bar's down?
I don't know about finishing moves. They had like each character has his own unique set of moves and stuff, but I can't remember. So.
Yeah, I think he either he'll give up, or I think it's like once you knock them out, then you can pin them and everything.
Okay.
But, I think it's got moves and stuff, but it's not super in depth. I wish he wasn't speeding past the entrances though.
He's going past the ball.
Yeah, damn it.
That's really awesome, dude.
I'm really surprised you had never.
Yeah. No, if you hadn't told me that I years ago, I probably wouldn't have found out.
Here we go. I found the Super Nintendo. I'll show this off, and then we'll go ahead and call it an episode. Here you go, Tyler. Yeah, so there's the team battle royal. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's basically just tornado tag too.
Oh, awesome. Biff, Rasta, Greater.
And you'll see it. It's full on Mastodon attire. I'm like, yeah, it's Vader.
Yeah, because they come out on the old things like.
There he is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So cool.
Oh, and they come on opposite sides, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, going back to when we were talking about Final Fight, the arcade port to Super Nintendo port. This is pretty good compared to its arcade counterpart.
Good. You got the E Honda slap there.
Yeah.
God. This other guy looks like Alex Wright.
That's what I was thinking that when he came out.
He's
Yeah, I was
Das
that's
Wonder
Alex
Kid.
Wright. Das Wonder Kid. Actually, funny you should say that. The last couple of days I've had on just live stream the old because WWE just launched the WCW YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And
cool.
they've just showed a continuous 24-hour stream of old WCW content. So like Starcade, but then like Bash at the Beach 96, and then it's all very random, but it's so fun to watch all these different types of and times in wrestling from WCW. And yeah, they had one earlier today, which was I had it on in the background. It was Das Wonder Kid versus, oh my god, who was it? Oh, I forget now. I've forgotten already. But
come on, James.
Yeah, there was they did the Lex Luger coming out to confront Hogan at the first Nitro.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm tired of playing with little kids. Me and Gene like. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm glad that they launched a WCW channel.
I gotta check that out. That's all.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of stuff on there. People are complaining like, "Where's it's not focused?" And it's like it's a lot of fun stuff though. Like,
It will be over time. They'll add playlists and everything.
of course they will.
Yeah.
That's why we got to get together and watch like a Royal Rumble match of some kind, or
the WWE Vault, and they've uploaded some of those.
There's so much great stuff.
The VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Oh, the Coliseum video, huh?
Coliseum,
we should just like randomly pick one of those and just like sit and watch it just fresh, no prep. We'll just watch it fresh and see who comes out and be surprised. Yeah.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, James, you got to join us for that.
I want Nathan, and I went prime Nathan, like just full commentary, make it. Oh, it's fucking beefcake. I'm gonna go take a shit.
Well, we should all do our best to kind of dress like late '80s WWF commentators, Tyler. You could be like Jesse Ventura, just get you like a boa and everything.
Can I be early '90s Todd Pettengill with like,
hey,
really? It's just like, let's look at the thing.
Oh, I fucking hated him as a kid.
I did too. He sucked.
We had I don't know if you guys got the show. I don't know if it was like just specific to the UK. There was a show called WWF. I think it was called Mayhem, and it was almost like a highlights package. And it was Todd Pettengill presenting, but he was in like
we got that on Saturday mornings.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
it was
maybe it was Mania.
Was it Livewire?
I think it was.
I think it might have become Livewire.
We had Superstars on Sundays, and then I think Saturday morning was like Livewire.
This was, I think, it was actually called WWF just Mania, and it was like, and it was Todd Pettengill, and he was in like a VT room, so his video machines behind him.
We watched too. It was on Saturday mornings. It was like 10 to 11.
Yeah, that's it. And it was like
or 11 to 12. Yeah,
it was a lot of
like that.
It was often like a lot of squash matches. It was like Hakushi versus Man. It's like, I'm going to watch Hakushi because he's an awesome wrestler.
And I think that's when I watched, because I didn't watch Raw live.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was when that's when this woman turned up. Yeah, I remember her. I
remember her. Yeah, they got him a damn
for a cup of coffee. I
think that's how I watched the Kid beat Razor Ramon. Was watching that because it was broken up with a commercial break, and I just thought the Kid was like, oh, he's gonna be one of those guys who gets beat all the time. That blew my fucking mind
as well. Yeah.
Oh my god, I was like, no way.
The what I loved about WWF Mania is that Todd Pettengill shows. Todd Pettengill's mullet would just get longer and longer.
Oh yeah.
And then by the end it was like downhill, like, hey everybody, welcome to WWF. Have you ever seen, like, you can find on YouTube like audio clips from his radio show, and he's so embarrassed. He's so cheese. I mean, he's come back for the odd WWF thing here and there. It's quite nice to see him again.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Oh,
but he sucks. Like, it's Jim Ross. He didn't know shit from apple butter about wrestling. Which is true. He didn't.
I've never stopped WWF before.
If James has seen the Todd Grisham TNA, yeah.
Todd Grisham, what's that? Todd Grisham TNA?
We'll watch it after the show.
Okay.
We'll watch it when we're done here real quick, because it's still on YouTube. But we will go ahead and wrap this up. I hope everyone enjoyed us talking about one of the most beloved beat 'em ups.
Let's strike our final fight pose. Ready? Our select screen.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No one's going to select you, Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, it goes through and it shows the bios and like height and weight. No one's picking me. They're gonna be picking Tyler.
They're all going to pick Tyler.
Yeah.
I'm all tied up. I'm getting ready to explode with dynamite on my chest, you know.
But I hope everyone enjoyed this. Appreciate all of you that were here joining us live in the chat. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like this video. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on Final Fight or any of the beat 'em ups. Really, I would like to know top 5 beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
Put that down in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, we will see you in the future to talk about the past.
Why don't you just eat your chili fries, drink your shake, go blow lunch, do whatever it is you do to keep that ass of yours in business?
I never know.
I don't know.
All right, here's another one.
Oh, there's another one.
All right. Well, I got a news flash for you, Mother Teresa. Just because you just spend much of your life in a missionary position doesn't make you a missionary.
I do feel like I know that line. Oh, I'm rubbish.
All right, here's another one. Must,
Oh, no, I got it. Care Bears the movie.
oh,
Yeah, there you go.
Must be tough when you're spanking your monkey. You have a monkey?
What is that from? I bet it's like National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon or something.
No, but
No.
I'm gonna go for that because if I say this one, Nathan, he'll know exactly what it is, and you might too, James. Are you okay, Mr. Munson? I think I tore my sack.
Oh, Thingy Munson from. Oh, my brain's gone now.
Kingpin.
Yeah,
Yes, of course.
Kingpin. Yeah.
Fucking-
Yeah. He said, oh, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't about good sex that makes me have to crap.
Yeah.
Oh
For
man.
baggy ass legs and baggy panties. Oh,
Yeah, it's just something about the shit stained panties, man.
oh
Just-
God! You imagine how fucking hairy she probably had to been down there too. Oh, fur burger.
That's what you ended.
So yeah, so Max say great stream, very entertaining
Glad to
distraction
hear
to
it.
break up the monotony of editing. Well, I hope you enjoyed all the shit stained underwear talk, but
Yeah, and like lint in the fur.
what did he psych himself out saying that? Holy shit.
God, did I just picture her like what he's?
Oh man,
No,
he's got a
stop.
Yeah, he's got a Oh,
Nathan, yeah, puke's good. Puke's good.
Puke's good. Puke. I love when draws calls his mom. He's like, "Great news, mom! They're gonna be puked." So happy about it. R.I.P. draws, by the way. Unfortunate
RFE draws.
how his
Just hear Nathan like just shit on.
puke. Yeah, you getting nauseous, huh? Yeah, you gonna throw up, huh? It's Shane sitting there. Jim Ross is like, what the fuck are we doing?
James needs to play SmackDown with me and Nathan. We play against like Chuck, X-Pac and Chuck Palumbo
Yeah.
in a tornado like ladder match.
The tornado
Chuck's
ladder
got the
match for the
belt.
tag titles. Chuck's got the belt. Xbox telling him to suck.
Oh, we played WrestleMania Challenge and then we're playing like Andre and Hogan. And Nathan like, hey, sat on his face.
Yeah, because Andre's move, well, like the down A move is like he just double leg drop and he just like sits,
Oh, he
on,
just
like
sits.
smashes down
Yeah.
on you.
And Nathan would just say, oh, the Boston Crab. I still to this day will think and just bust out laughing. Like picture if Vince's commentary really was Andre, he sat on his face. You know, just
Well, we have to watch a
See,
wrestling
that's
tape.
why I
together.
Absolutely.
want Nathan to be fresh and me and James just sit back and Nathan just works his magic of doing commentary.
Briefly, yeah.
All
Now
in
you're
Vince
putting me on the
voice.
spot. Now I feel like I really gotta turn it up when we do it.
Oh, dude, all we got to do is put on something that we know you think is going to be shitty.
Yeah,
and you
any
just
late
works-
'80s, early '90s WWF is
Yeah,
gonna be
and I'll
garbage.
just chime in with, how much does this guy weigh?
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for joining
Yeah.
us.